Welcome to the Whittier Union High School District Board of Trustees special meeting for Saturday, January 17. It is 8 a.m. and we will call this meeting to order. Madam Superintendent, will you please call roll?
Yes, Trustee Rodriguez Moisa.
Here.
Trustee Castaneda-Calleros.
Present.
Trustee Lopez.
Present.
Trustee Canchola. Here.
All right, moving on to item number 2, the Pledge of Allegiance and the land acknowledgement. Mr. Lopez, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Yes. Please rise. Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Madam Superintendent, will you read our land acknowledgement, please?
Yes. The Whittier Union High School District acknowledges our presence in the traditional ancestral land of the Gabrielino Tongva peoples, which includes the villages of Turkishna, now San Fe Springs, Sihat, now Los Nietos Whittier, and the village of Sijitna, now Whittier-San Gabriel River area. This land remains unceded territory. Whittier Union High School District honors and respects the Gabrielino and Tongva ancestors and their connection to this land.
Thank you very much. All right, now I get to item number 3, which is approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion?
Madam President, I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay, moved by Dr. Castaneda-Calleros and seconded by Ms. Canchola. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries 4-0. Now we get to community comments, and I do want to note, and I think we made them available, we have one in-person community comment, but the board did receive 4 communications, written communications, one from Janice Hahn, Wendy Herrera, Blanca Pacheco, and Liliana Cunningham, and those are available to you over here on the entryway door. We will not read them into the record, but we want to make sure that it is noted that we did receive 4 letters for community comment. And now I will call Jenny Gray. And do we have a preference as to where Ms.
Yes,
Gray?
here.
On this side?
Please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, esteemed trustees. My name is Jenny Gray. I am here to speak to you on behalf of candidate Urchiaga, not only as a mother of 2 East Whittier City School District alumni, but also as a retired instructional assistant of 22 years, also at the East Whittier City School District. I am also the director of CAUSE, a nonprofit that supports families and classrooms of special education students. It is in this role that I first met Mr. Urchiaga. He supported our group as we reached out to the parents that needed our help. He became an integral part of helping spread the word of who we are, and an amazing example and support to other fathers when he participated in our dad's group, not hesitating to share his experiences and lessons learned. He participates in our activities and fundraisers, showing the commitment to his family as well as to the families he serves. Many of whom see him not just as a board member, but as someone who is willing to actually support and promote the values he believes in. Acceptance and inclusion of all students is important to Mr. Urchiaga. With the special needs community in Whittier growing, I believe he will bring his personal experience to address the challenges and decisions high school students and their families face as he walks the path with them. I have seen Mr. Urchiaga at back-to-school nights and open houses. While supporting his own children in their academic growth and inclusion, he also makes a point to interact with teachers and parents while listening to their ideas and needs. Through IEPs and teacher conferences, candidate Urchiaga has the opportunity to see the administration in action, which allows him not only to understand what parents experience, but also see where improvements can be made. At the annual Engage East Whittier event, hosted by East Whittier City School District Superintendent, Mr. Urchiaga displays his ability to be part of the East WUHSD School District team, as well as show his leadership skills as he often co-hosts the event. 3 minutes really isn't long enough for me to tell you everything that I know about his abilities and his commitments, but it was my great pleasure to stand here and give you just a glimpse as to what Mr. Urchiaga's values are. I believe he would be a great addition to your board, and I'm honored to have been able to share this with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And even though you may not have submitted, I'm moving, okay. Even though you may not have submitted a written card, is there anyone else before we close out community comments? Okay, thank you. Next, let's move to item number 5, the consent calendar. Does anyone want to have anything pulled from the consent calendar?
No polls from me.
No polls for me.
Yes, I just wanted to recall from our last meeting that I did pull, and I don't remember the exact numbers of the items that I had asked for, but they had to do with the Puente field trip and the hotel where the Puente students were gonna be attending, because I do want to recuse myself from that vote.
Very good. I note that, and I'll ask Madam Superintendent's assistance here, but that would be under item 5.03. There is a reference to La Serna High School Puente Northern California College Expedition. Is there another contract besides, another item besides that?
On the contract, the Wyndham, so we've pulled both of those so that she could recuse herself from both of those.
Which one is the contract?
The contract for the Wyndham Hotel?
Wyndham, let me find it for a second so I can identify it specifically for our minutes.
And then when you're ready, I have a point of clarification.
Let me get on my computer because when I look at the listing of the attachments, I don't see a contract for, oh, there it is at the very top. I see it now. La Quinta by Wyndham, San Luis Obispo?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, so we have a request to approve, a request to pull 2 items. One under 5.02, the La Quinta by Wyndham San Luis Obispo agreement, and then under 5.03, the La Serna High School Puente Northern California College Expedition Puente Program agreement. And so I'm going to remove those 2 items and then ask for a motion to approve the rest of the consent items, unless anyone wants anything else pulled.
So moved.
Okay, move to approve the consent calendar items with the 2 exceptions just noted. Do I have a second?
Second.
All righty, any further discussion?
I'll withdraw my point of clarification. You just clarified.
Oh, thank you. All right, seeing no further discussion, all in favor of approving the consent items as noted, with the exception of the La Quinta agreement and the La Serna High School Puente Northern California College Expedition field trip, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Do I have a motion to approve the La Quinta by Wyndham contract
So moved.
and the La Serna High School Puente Northern
For
California?
point of clarification, do I literally have to step out or?
No, you can just stay
Okay.
here, and it should, the record should reflect that Ms. Conchola is present, but is not participating in the discussion or in the votes.
Madam President, I will second the motion.
All right, moved by Mr. Lopez, seconded by Dr. Castañeda Calleros. Any other discussion? Without discussion, call the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. So the motion carries 3-0 with Ms. Conchola having recused herself. Okay. So that takes us to the reason I think most people are here today. So for those of you who don't know our folks, I do want to take a quick second to introduce to you our very important VIPs in the room who are our administrators, Assistant Superintendent Jamero, who will be doing some timekeeping responsibilities, Assistant Superintendent Ozigian, think I got that right this time. Our superintendent, Monica Oviedo, and our council, Terrence, I've just blank on your last name? Gallagher, thank you, Terrence Gallagher. So for those of you who have not met them before, that is who these 4 people are at the very front here. Okay, so let's now go to the appointment process. What I want to say initially as we get started is how excited we are as a board to have 7 incredible applicants who have applied to be considered for this provisional appointment. The quantity and the quality of these candidates reflects on our democracy and the strong commitment to public education in Trustee Area 5. To all the candidates, thank you for your courage to step forward and serve in this role. The board received copies of all the applications, and we have reviewed them prior to today's meetings. Board members will take notes today of the interviews. However, please note that the notes will not be retained in the ordinary course of business and therefore are not considered public records under Government Code Section 6254A. I want to reinforce the board takes this responsibility seriously and appreciates how important this decision is to appoint a trustee. We have aimed to provide a transparent and fair process for all candidates. They have been provided the same information and documentation. They have also been able to work with and speak with our superintendent, Dr. Oviedo, who has communicated with them our votes and the process that we've adopted. Thank you, Dr. Oviedo, for your work during this process. When we conclude the interviews today, board members will have time then again to individually review the applications and their impressions from today's interviews. After the interviews today, this morning, we will then deliberate. We'll probably take a short break for a comfort break, and then come back and deliberate in open session. Any of you who wish to remain in the room while you hear us deliberate, whether candidate or not, you are free to do so. And we will appoint a new member today. And if the person who is selected will then be administered the oath of office at our next board meeting on February 10, 2016. So let me now explain the process for those of you who may not have been following our great efforts to be open and transparent about how we were going to run this process. The first thing that's going to happen is we will have the superintendent, we call it draw lots. I don't know if it's computer, if you put it in a basket, she's got a bunch of envelopes, and she will then draw, don't do it yet, the order of the interviews. We're not doing it by alphabetical order, it's whatever order she draws. We have requested that all candidates sequester themselves in our conference room during the interviews for fairness, so that no one either gains or learns or says something in response to any other candidate's responses. However, under the Brown Act, we cannot require that they sequester themselves, but as a matter of fairness, we would request that you do that. Once the candidate has been interviewed, they can remain in the open session to listen to the rest of the candidates. Once we've determined the order of the interviews, and then hopefully the candidates will have sequestered themselves, the board will then deliberate to discuss how many and which questions we will ask the candidates. If you've been following our process here, on Tuesday, we voted on what we call the bank of potential questions. We agreed on 16 questions from which we would draw questions to ask the candidates today. All the candidates were provided the bank of questions so that they could best prepare and present their best information to us today. Once the board has determined how many and which questions they will ask, we will then call the candidates in that order. The candidates will have 3 minutes to make an opening statement. They will have 3 minutes to answer any of the questions asked, and then they will have 2 minutes to make a closing statement. And unless there's any questions from my fellow board members, I think we're almost ready to go. Any other point of order questions from my fellow board members?
If I may, Madam President, my only question is, Are we gonna be able to embed maybe 5 minutes or so after the interview and before we get to the subsequent interview, so we have a chance to finish making notes and doing?
If I certainly would be open to that. Mr. Lopez, that work for you? All right, so we will take a short, I'll call it break for us to take notes.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, we do ask everyone's support who is here in the audience during the interviews that we maintain a quiet environment so that the candidates can be properly heard and that we can actually really hear them, as opposed to, we don't need any applause or anything like that, but that's really what that is. All right, so, one more question.
Yeah, just point of clarification, we do have a candidate, am I understanding, on Zoom?
Oh, yes, pardon me.
Okay.
We do have one candidate who was provided an accommodation due to her circumstances. Ms. Sandoval Guerrero is participating by Zoom.
Madam President, if I may interrupt you.
Yes.
She has shared with me that given the nature of her job, and she doesn't feel that she can put her best foot forward, and she's requested to withdraw.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, so now we have 6, well, we had 7 outstanding candidates, 6 outstanding candidates still remain. All right, my apologies, I didn't realize that. Okay, all right, so no candidates on the Zoom. All right, so are we ready? Dr. Oviedo, why don't you come on up, take the seat here, and I'm gonna stand there with you, just to confirm all the names are in there. I promise you all, I have not looked in that envelope, so I'm just gonna confirm all the names are in that need to be in.
It's the list.
Okay? Okay. Yep.
We're gonna play this one.
All right, we're pulling Ms. Sandoval Guerrero.
No, we're gonna play Emily Guerrero.
I'm sorry, Emily Guerrero. Okay.
Oh, that's right, I understand.
Okay. Okay. Got it, okay. Yep, sorry. And Mr. Rodriguez, you're capturing her when she pulls the names. Excellent, thank you. All right. Put them in the envelope. Right there. Okay, then, Madam Superintendent, I will let you do that. Come back up. All right. Okay, who's the first?
First is Thomas Baird.
Very good, thank you. Number 2?
Second is Lori Watkins.
Thank you.
Third is Christine Rosales.
Okay.
Fourth is Josefina Tafoya.
Thank you.
Fifth is Armando Urtiaga.
Thank you.
And sixth is Desiree Quintero.
All right, I'll read one more time out loud for everyone. We will go in this order to interview the candidates. Thomas Baird will go first, then Lori Watkins, then Ms. Rosales. Number 4 will be Ms. Tafoya. Number 5, Mr. Urtiaga, and number 6, Ms. Quintero. All righty then. So those of you who are here as candidates, can we request that you would sequester yourself into the conference room? And don't worry, Dr. Oviedo or Ms. Bozignia will come and grab you when we need you. I would like the record to reflect that all the candidates have elected to sequester themselves in the conference room. Okay, so that deals with item number 6, .01. And now, let's talk about 6.02. Let me just, selection of questions. All right. For members of the public, if you didn't get it, I believe we have the copies of the banks of questions also available, if any of you want to take a look at those. What I'd like to do is I'd like to go in order of Dr. Castañeda Calleros, then Mr. Lopez, then Ms. Conchola. If you don't mind giving us your sense of what are the questions that you would like to have asked so that we can get a totality, and then we can decide, once you tell me what your top questions would be, we can decide if that's too many or if we're going to ask them all. Okay. Dr. Castañeda Calleros.
Thank you very much, Madam President. So I've given this question, or two questions, some thought, and first I'll speak to the number, and then I'll speak to a couple of questions that I'd like to offer for consideration in our discussion as a group. So in terms of the number, I know back in 2010, we asked 4 questions of candidates during that appointment process. And then in our 2023 appointment, I believe we asked 6 questions. So I'm comfortable with the 4 to 6 range, but if my colleagues have other perspectives, I'm open to hearing them. And then in terms of actual questions to include for today, there are quite a few in here that I think are very helpful, but the 2 that I'd like to highlight are, number 1, how would your appointment to the board complement the current makeup of the Board of Trustees? And number 15, what do you consider to be your biggest weakness in serving on a 5-member elected board? And whenever I think a board selects questions for appointment interviews, for me, it's so helpful to select questions that are going to be very telling and that will be able to provide information not already gleaned from the applications that we've read. And I believe 1 in 15 do just that. They give us new information. And in addition, I think it helps us to be able to understand to what depth did they do their homework on our board, on our district, on the state of our district. I also think number 15 in particular is helpful with revealing a sense of reflection and self-awareness and growth. So those are my comments. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Castañeda Calleros. Mr. Lopez.
Thank you, Madam President. Here are my thoughts about the number of questions, considering that one candidate just dropped out. I believe we have time to ask questions. My intent or my desire is to have 8 questions, to each. So with that in mind, I'd like to ask number 4, and I'd like to ask number 14 as well.
Very good. Again, because these are available to folks in the audience, I'm not going to read those questions out loud. Ms. Conchola.
Okay, so I came down to 5 questions that I would really like to have included. And I concur with Dr. Castañeda Calleros in terms of number 1 being essential. I would also like us to consider 13, what is your leadership style and how would you apply it to your service on the board? I think it's also important for us to know 14 in terms of what the long-term plans are for the candidate. And also with Mr. Lopez in terms of 15, what is the business? And I think in 16 is also important. How would you keep the focus on the board goals in spite of differences of opinions and political perspectives?
All right, so just to briefly summarize, it appears from hearing from 3 of my colleagues that we have a list of 6, and I may add 1 more, but let me just look at this. Question 1, how would your appointment to the board complement the current makeup of the Board of Trustees? Question 4, do you perceive any current conflicts of interest related to your profession or other factors? If so, how would you approach your role as a board member? Then next in order would be question 13. What is your leadership style and how would you apply it to your service on the board? Question 14, if appointed, what are your plans for the November 2026 election? And then question 15, what do you consider to be your biggest weakness? Question 16, how would you keep the focus on board goals in spite of differences of opinions and political perspectives of the other board members? So if I've counted correctly, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions. I would ask indulgence to ask one more. I know that will make our interviews long because we're giving people 3 minutes, but I would really like the answer to question 3. Please describe your thought process when taking a position on a controversial issue. How do you determine the position you take, and what factors do you take into consideration? So that would make it 7 questions. It's beyond the 4 to 6 range that Dr. Castaneda Calleros referenced, and obviously Mr. Lopez had suggested up to 8. So it's kind of right there in the middle. I'd like to get some feedback from my fellow board members. I'll start this time with Ms. Conchola.
Thank you, Madam President. So I actually did like a little check off, and that was on my check off, and then from there I deducted the other 2, so I'm good with that question.
Okay, so that would make it 7 questions if we're comfortable.
No
Do we
objection.
have-
No objection, I will honor that.
All right, thank you. So we're going to have 7, oops, do I, no?
I'm gonna circle that.
Oh, thank you. And we will ask the questions in the order in which they are listed unless there's an objection from the board. And what I would ask us to do is, because there's 7 questions, that each one of us ask the same question. So Dr. Castaneda Calleros, for instance, I will have you start with the first question.
Sure.
You'll ask question 1. Mr. Lopez, you will ask question 3.
Got it?
Then we'll go to Ms. Conchola, who will ask question 4. Then we go all the way to question 13. I will ask that question. Then question 14 will be by Dr. Castaneda Calleros. Question 15 will be by Mr. Lopez. And then question 16 will be by Ms. Conchola. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Can we
and-
repeat the questions for clarification?
I absolutely will. So question number 1 will be asked by Dr. Castaneda Calleros. How would your appointment to the board complement the current makeup of the Board of Trustees? Question 3 to be read by Mr. Lopez. Please describe your thought process when taking a position on a controversial issue. How do you determine the position you take, and what factors do you take into consideration? Question 4 will be asked by Ms. Conchola. Do you perceive any current conflicts of interest related to your profession or other factors? If so, how would you approach your role as a board member in light of these? If not, what steps would you take to address a future potential conflict should it arise? Question 13 to be read by me. What is your leadership style, and how would you apply it to your service on the board? Question 14 to be asked by Dr. Castaneda Calleros. If appointed, what are your plans for the November 2026 election? Question 15 to be read by Mr. Lopez. What do you consider to be your biggest weakness in serving on a 5-member elected board? And then question 16 to be read by Ms. Conchola. How would you keep the focus on board goals in spite of differences of opinions and political perspectives of the other board members? All right. Now, one of the things I do also want to clarify, and we will say this to the candidates, there will be no follow-up or clarifying questions. We get to ask the same exact question to all the candidates. All
Thank
right.
you for that.
Okay.
Quick question.
Yes.
I could be wrong, but did we forget to include number 8? I think Mr. Lopez, was that one of your?
No,
No.
It was not. Okay, my mistake. Thank you.
Okay. So, are we ready?
we're ready.
Yes,
Right.
we
Okay,
are.
you ready? All right. Dr. Oviedo. And let me have a second.
Mr. Jamero is going to give you a 30-second warning for each question. Get to the last
All right. Oops, Mr. Baird, I have a few comments for you before you begin.
For each question, you said?
Oh.
Thank you. Sorry.
Mr. Baird, good morning.
Good morning.
We want to welcome you to this interview today. We are very grateful to have community members willing to serve the students of our schools in the capacity of a Board of Trustee. The board has selected 7 questions for you this morning. And you will have up to 3 minutes to answer each of the 7 questions. Board members will not be allowed to ask clarifying or follow-up questions during the interview to ensure that all candidates are asked the exact same questions. So, Mr. Jamero, who's over here to your left, our right, is our timekeeper today. I have asked him to give you a 30-second warning. That's all you will get. There will not be a 10 or a 5-second warning. It will be 30 seconds, and then the buzzer will go off when your time has expired for those to respond. Okay?
Sounds good.
All righty. All righty, so let's go forward. Dr. Castañeda Calleros.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning, Mr. Baird.
Good morning.
I have the first question.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
My bad. You have 3 minutes to give us an opening statement. My apologies, sir. Please.
that's right.
Thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Thomas Baird, and I am a proud alumnus of this district and a proud product of this community. My family moved here when I was 5 years old, and we live in South Whittier, and I attended school in the South Whittier School District and went to Telegon Elementary, then to South Whittier Intermediate School, and eventually Cal High. I even attended summer classes at Rio Hondo. I love this community. I love the schools. I now live here. I've lived here for the past 9 years. I have 2 kids. They are in the East Whittier School District and will be at Cal High in the next 3-4 years. I'm always hoping it's further out. They're growing up fast. I am also a social worker, and because of that, I'm trained to collaborate, trained to listen, and I currently work in Medi-Cal managed care, where I'm trained, as I said, to collaborate with others, but also to implement programs and services for large populations of individuals in need. And because of that, I regularly have to navigate changes in funding, changes in socio-political climate, changes in need, advances in technology. I think those skills are directly applicable here. I think that we are constantly asked to adapt and be flexible, and I am trained to do so. I plan to bring that same adaptability and passion for this community to this role. From an early age, I have been involved in the community, and I've been taught to value civic engagement. When I was in elementary school, I sold candy after school on Wednesdays for the PTA with my mother. And when I was in middle school, I walked door to door to help pass Measure W, for bond Measure W. It was a school bond measure to get money for South Whittier Intermediate School District, which resulted in many other things.
30 seconds.
Certainly the school I apologize. I also teach at a school. I teach at APU as a professor. I remain active in the community, participating in Whittier Area Youth Soccer. I value equity, collaboration, transparency, and decisions that center around students and their families. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much, especially since you were our first person up, and it is always very challenging when the warning comes up, so thank you for your poise. Let me start with Dr. Castañeda Calleros with the questions.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning, Mr. Baird. I have the first question. How would your appointment to our board complement the current makeup of our Board of Trustees?
I wish I knew personalities so I could lay out how I, kind of finish out the band, if you will. And I don't, but what I can say is that I hope to support, I hope to collaborate, as a social worker, I'm a listener. I believe in earning our opinions by listening to others before we take a stance, so that we can take a stance worth having. And I hope to support and fuel your existing passion to serve our students. I can imagine that having somebody come in halfway, well, at the end of a term, can be disruptive. And I hope to bring some restored focus, maybe some levity with my personality, but certainly passion. And I hope to fuel yours and foster a collaborative environment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Lopez, you have the next question.
Welcome, Ms. Barrett, and thank you. Thank you for making the decision. Please describe your thought process when taking a position on a controversial issue. How do you determine the position you take, and what factors do you take into consideration?
Every decision made revolves around the well-being of our students and families. I believe that is our governing factor. It certainly is mine. As a social worker, we're trained to have a person-centered approach, to define our work by the need that is present. And so when there is a position, or I should say when there's a situation that calls for a controversial stance on either side, they won't always be great meetings where we get to celebrate making a decision that everybody agreed on. There are always times where we have to make that tough decision. There were times in the past, I know that I've talked to people that I respect greatly, even my father, who's worked on the board, where I disagreed, but I knew that both of our opinions centered around the well-being of students. And I trust that each of us would have that at our core, driving our decisions. So I would say that the deciding factor is always what is best for our students and families. But how do I determine? I would say I listen, I collaborate, I ask questions, and I earn my stance before I take it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Conchola, the next question, please.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for being here, Mr. Barrett. My question is, do you perceive any current conflicts of interest related to your profession or other factors? If so, how would you approach your role as a board member in light of these? If not, what steps would you take to address a future potential conflict should it arise?
I don't have any current conflict of interest. I believe in transparency. I believe it's important to be introspective and thoughtful and consider all possibilities. I also know that just by nature, conflict of interest is one of those things that we don't always decide ourselves and can't always decide ourselves. And it's our responsibility to raise the question, to raise the concern. For that reason, I did before coming here, I did go to my HR and let them know and filled out our own conflict of interest form. I believe strongly in making sure that the focus is our students, that self-interest doesn't have a part in decision-making, and that we are transparent enough, and I will be transparent enough to raise questions, to bring potential conflicts of interest to the board and superintendent, because I believe strongly in avoiding those distractions that keep us from serving our students and our families here in this community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baird. I get to ask the next question. What is your leadership style, and how would you apply it to your service on the board?
I would describe it as servant leadership. I am always asking questions. I like to lead based on need, not only need of the individuals and populations that we serve, but need of others that work with me. I like to make sure that people are heard and that people feel heard. And if I truly don't understand or don't feel that they feel understood, I will continue to ask until I understand to the best of my ability. I believe it's vital that we listen to our people. I believe that we as board members, our role is to support the superintendent, to choose a good superintendent, to support that superintendent, and to do so by being a conduit from the community, the students, the families, the staff, so that we bring accountability and we bring support to the superintendent and to the rest of the board. The voices of our people are integral to that.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, the next question again now by Dr. Castañeda Calleros.
Thank you. Mr. Baird, if appointed, what are your plans for the November 2026 election?
I do plan on running. Being a longtime Whittier resident, I've always been taught, I've been taught that civic engagement is important. I also know that we don't need to be elected to engage, but for a long time I've wanted to seek a role here, and I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity, and I definitely plan on running. One thing I want to note is that I truly believe that we can be leaders outside of this role, and if not elected, I still plan to lead and to engage. My mom served as an example of that when I was a kid. She was a powerhouse advocate long before. She now serves on a different school board, and long before then, I feel like she had a great influence on the community, putting in stop signs, getting bond measures passed, doing volunteer work, and then she turned other parents into powerhouses. And I believe in that kind of advocacy, and I plan on doing that, but I truly believe I can best do it here.
Thank you. Next question is from Mr. Lopez.
Thank you, Madam President. What do you consider to be your biggest weakness in serving on a 5-member elected board?
The biggest weakness question is always, it's always a tough one. You want to go with, I'm a perfectionist, or I'm too good looking. It's one of those things that Brad Pitt and I, we deal with regularly. No, I do think that one perceived weakness that I have leaned into in recent years is that I can be slow to jump to a stance, to jump to making a concrete stance, a concrete decision, because I like to hear the other side's point of view. I'd like to hear both sides' points of view. I want to make sure that I understand fully before I make a decision. I think I said earlier that I believe in earning our opinions. I once had a college professor who said, you have to earn your opinions in this class, and I've always taken that with me. And so I've learned to lean into that and not feel insecure about not being quick to make that decision, but instead make sure I make that decision, but make it right, and have a stance worth holding. And so I wouldn't say it's my biggest weakness, but it's one that I used to consider a weakness, that I'm very conscious of, that I feel has been leaned into and turned into a strength.
Thank you. And, I'm sorry, Ms. Conchola for the last question.
How would you keep the focus on board goals in spite of differences of opinions and political perspectives of the board members?
I feel that the students and families are too important for us to get caught up in party politics in ways that don't serve our people. I think that that's when they fall through the cracks. I certainly have strong beliefs, strong values. I believe in equity. I think I mentioned that earlier. Governs my decisions. I believe in having an equity mindset, and I believe that that means that we make sure that every individual, regardless of background, ability, circumstance, is able to have access and resources to succeed. And it means acknowledging that not all of us start off in the same place. And that certainly is political, but it centers around the individuals that we serve and meeting their needs. And I think that if we focus on that, then we can stay the course. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Baird, thank you so much for answering the questions. You now have 2 minutes to make any concluding remarks you would like to make.
I think I was thrown at the beginning, but it was strategic because now I have a little bit more to share. But I think when I got flustered, I was, and I'm sorry for that, but I was talking about how when I was a kid, I remember walking door to door, and I remember doing that for Measure W for the South Reader School District and Measure C for this district. These were school bond measures that brought money to our districts to support our students and teachers. And after high school, I continued to engage the community. I volunteered with Catholic Rainbow Outreach, a small halfway house in South Whittier. I even did my senior project with them and worked at that halfway house. I went on to focus on social work, disability services. I teach at APU on disability services and aging and health. And I feel that these things, education and service, are deeply personal. My wife's a teacher as well, and these things are deeply personal to us. I feel that my understanding of education, of teachers union,
30 seconds.
but also of this community will be vital to serving you on the board. I truly believe that I can collaborate and work with you all, and I really hope to do so. Thank you.
Mr. Baird, thank you so much for your candidacy and for participating in this process. And at this point, I think you are either free to go back to the conference room or stay out here open, but if you do go back in the conference room, no discussions of the questions. So thank you. We'll now give the board about 2-3 minutes to make its notations, and then Dr. Vida will let you know when you can grab the next candidate.
A little bit, I'm just going to be really small here a little bit that next time. It was so low, I felt like Lauren Davis.
Okay, Dr. Oviedo, if we can have, I think it's Dr. Watkins. Alrighty, let me get mine. Dr. Watkins, good morning.
Good morning.
On behalf of the board, we want to welcome you to this interview. We are grateful to have community members like yourself willing to serve the students of our schools in this very important capacity as a board of trustee member. This morning, we have selected 7 questions to ask you. You will have, as you know, the 3 minutes for an opening statement. You'll have 3 minutes to answer the questions, and then 2 minutes for any closing remarks you'd like to make. Please know that the board members will not ask clarifying or follow-up questions during this interview to ensure that all candidates are asked the exact same questions. Mr. Jamero, who is there to your left over here, is our timekeeper. And I have asked him that if you, once you hit the 30 seconds left mark, to advise you verbally that you've got 30 seconds. That will be the only warning you get, aside from the ringing of the bell, that would signify your time is up. Alrighty, with that, why don't we hear from you first with your opening statement?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to come and just share a little bit about myself and my goal of serving this district. Excuse me. This is where my journey as an educator began, literally across the street. I raised my 5 children here. They all went through schools in South Whittier and also graduated from California High School. When my children went to school, I grew in my commitment to supporting them, obviously, in their education, and that turned into me wanting to support other students, their peers. I became a PTA board member and president at McKibben Elementary School in South Whittier, and also spent 2 years as PTA president at South Whittier Intermediate School before it became Graves Intermediate. That was a while ago. During this time, I also took on various classified positions with the district. I was a sub-instructional aide. I worked in the district office for a while. More permanently, I was an instructional aide and then a library technician for 5 years. During that time, I was encouraged to get my teaching credential. So I did so and became a teacher in the Los Nietos School District, working at Los Nietos Middle School as an English language teacher and social studies teacher. I transitioned to special education with the Paramount Unified School District, where I was an RSP teacher for several years before being promoted to the district office as a program specialist / TOSA. During my time in Paramount, some highlights include overseeing special education programming preschool through adult transition. I was filled in as a temporary assistant principal at the high school when there was a vacancy, so I did that for 4 months, which included a graduating class of 1,000 seniors. That was an interesting day for sure. Being able to maximize training and work opportunities for secondary students with disabilities as a workability coordinator, and co-leading the district's induction programs, supporting new teachers and as they cleared their credentials. So those were some of the highlights for Paramount, but I had definitely a broad oversight in terms of supporting students and teachers. As an administrator with the Norwalk La Mirada Unified School District, I oversaw special education programming for 5 middle schools, 3 comprehensive high schools, the continuation high school, and was the administrator of the adult transition program. It was during this time that I completed my doctorate program and became an adjunct professor at Loyola University, something I still do to this day, supervising student teachers as well as teaching special ed courses. Even though I've retired from public school employment, I have a vested interest in this district. I have grandchildren who will be attending next year, And with a newborn due in about 3 weeks, I'll be here for a while.
Very good, thank you so much. Dr. Castañeda Calleros, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning, Dr. Watkins. I have the first question. How would your appointment to the board complement the current makeup of our Board of Trustees?
Well, I believe we all have the same thing in common, is that we've had students come through this district, and our children are what brought us to this place initially. I believe that the totality of my experiences as a classified personnel, classified employee, certificated employee, administrator, parent volunteer, I think that broad perspective and lens, the multiple lenses that I can bring to the table could be very, just another lens for the board to see issues through. And in terms of my current position as an adjunct professor and student teaching supervisor, that kind of, where are our students going next, four-year universities, junior colleges, and just, helping with that career path.
Thank you. Mr. Lopez has the next question.
Hello, Dr. Watkins. My question is number 3. Please describe your thought process when taking a position on a controversial issue. How do you determine the position you take, and what factors do you take into consideration?
Well, definitely doing my research and collaborating with the superintendent for, input on the issues. How does this support or detract from students, their learning, their well-being, and their success in schools? Does this align with the board goals? So just weighing those issues, against what the board has set forth as their vision and mission. And then, in special education, we always kind of have this statement of how do we weigh the benefits against the potential harmful effects. So that's something that I would bring to the table too, is just that, is this more beneficial than it could be in terms of harm?
Thank you. Ms. Canchola.
Dr. Watkins, do you perceive any current conflict of interest related to your profession or other factors? If so, how would you approach your role as a board member in light of these? If not, what steps would you take to address the future potential conflicts should they arise?
I can't currently think of anything that might be a potential conflict of interest outside of my role as an adjunct professor, in which I would recuse myself of supervising any student teachers in the district, because I don't think that would be appropriate. I've done so in the past when I worked for La Mirada. I would not take on any student teachers that work within that district for that very same reason.
Thank you.
Okay, I get the next question. What is your leadership style, and how would you apply it to your service on the board?
I pretty much think of my leadership style in terms of servant leadership. This is an elected position eventually, hopefully, and you're here to serve the community. You're here to serve the students, and students first. You're here to serve the employees of the district and do the best that you can with the information given at any time to make decisions for the district based, again, off of the district's vision and mission and the goals that the board has set forth already.
All right, Dr. Castañeda Calleros.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I have the next question. Dr. Watkins, if appointed, what are your plans for the November 2026 election?
Well, I almost got to finish with the first, my initial, I do have a newborn grandchild being born in a couple of weeks, so I plan on being involved and being around for many years, so I would hope that I could continue, if appointed, with the election process and stay on board as long as possible.
Thank you.
Mr. Lopez.
Thank you. What do you consider to be your biggest weakness in serving on a 5-member elected board?
I think my biggest weakness is not having done this before. But I am very familiar with the process. I've been on a few committees that have, done similar processes, and I do understand that I would be but one member of a 5-member body of governance, and that nothing is done in isolation or on a solo venture, but with the majority of the board and in collaboration with each other.
Thank you. Ms. Conchola.
Mr. Watkins, how would you keep the focus on board goals in spite of differences of opinions and political perspectives of other board members?
Again, the board goals are agreed upon by consensus and drive the mission and vision of the district. Any individual personal differences are just that, they're differences. We respect each other, we collaborate with each other. Individual opinions are encouraged, but again, separate from agreed upon goals and agreed upon actions.
All right, Dr. Watkins, that concludes the questions that the board is asking the candidates. You now have 2 minutes for any closing remarks you would like to make.
Again, like I mentioned earlier, this is full circle for me, raising my children in this district, going to local district schools, becoming a parent volunteer at those local schools, moving on to becoming, a classified employee for several years, a certificated employee in this area for several years. I believe I have the capacity and the mindset to be a collaborative member of this board and look forward to continuing the incredible legacy of Whittier Union High School District. This district has an extremely high reputation in the state, and I would like to be a part of that and see it continue for a long, long time.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You are now free to sit in the public audience if you'd like. And then, Dr. Vitt, if you can give us a few minutes while we write our notes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're ready. let us know when you're ready.
Okay.
I have a few introductory remarks.
Okay, I'm ready.
You ready? Ms. Rosales, first and foremost, on the behalf of the board, we want to welcome you to this interview today. We're so grateful to have community members who are willing to serve in this very important capacity to serve our students as a trustee. The board has decided to ask 7 questions to you this morning. We will not be asking clarifying or follow-up questions during the interviews to ensure that all candidates are asked the exact same questions. You will have 3 minutes to make an opening statement. You will be provided 3 minutes to answer the questions, and then 2 minutes for closing remarks. When you are answering, Mr. Jamero, who is to your left, is our designated timekeeper. He will give you a 30-second warning, but only that. And then after that, just his little bell will go off to signify the expiration of time. So we know it can be difficult to be interrupted, but that's why we're only doing that one 30-second warning, okay?
Okay.
All right, wonderful. Well, so why don't you share with us, Ms. Rosales, your opening statements?
Sure. So as you guys know, my name is Christine. I moved to Whittier about 8 years ago. And honestly was skeptical because I grew up in Artesia Cerritos, so I was like, oh, I don't know. I've never we used to come to Whittier to go to Uptown and go out, but so when we bought our house and then we moved into our neighborhood and I fell in love, like in love. People talk about building a village and a community, and we have done that, and I'm having the best time. Education, I feel like, doesn't end in high school or college. You kind of continually learn, and I'm continuously learning. As my daughter went to, preschool or TK and now kinder and in elementary school, and it's like, so for me, this is an opportunity to continue learning, right? Like, what's working, what's not working, like, I'm not gonna say how long ago I was in high school, but things have changed, right? And they're always evolving. So understanding that and working with that is, I think, my priority. It's one of the reasons, like, when she started school that I joined PTA, and I'm like, oh, I can do that. And serving and being involved has just become, I think, one of my favorite things.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Castañeda Calleros, you have the first question.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Salas.
Good morning.
My question is, how would your appointment to our board complement the current makeup of the Board of Trustees?
I think that I would compliment the board in that being the newest member, almost like a blank slate. I don't have any experience in Whittier Union High School District, and I don't have a high schooler, so I have not interacted with any of the high schools at all. I have no preconceived, anything on any of the schools. I mean, everything I've heard since I've moved here has been positive about Cal High, Pioneer, Whittier, La Serna. Like, everybody I've always talked to, like, oh, this is so great at this school, this is so great at that school. And so it's just, I think, made me more interested, and I want to, like, understand how I can contribute to that.
Thank you. Mr. Lopez.
Thank you, Madam President. Please describe your thought process when taking a position on a controversial issue. How do you determine the position you take, and what factors do you take into consideration?
I think that for me, I want to hear what everyone else thinks. Like, you have more experience, so it's like, okay, well, what do you think? Has this been an issue in the past, or what is your perspective? And talking to as many people as possible just to hear different perspectives. And then the core question, I think, for me would be, how does this affect the students? Because that's really who we're serving, right? Ultimately, we're educating children, preparing them for the world. So how does this issue directly affect them or benefit them, or how would it impact them? Would be my main question, I guess my main focus.
Thank you.
Ms. Conchola.
Let me finish my stuff. Thank you. Ms. Rosales, do you perceive any current conflicts of interest related to your profession or other factors? If so, how would you approach your role as a board member in light of these? And if not, what steps would you take to address the future potential conflict should it arise?
I don't think I have any current conflicts. And if I had a conflict, then I would probably, speak up and say like, okay, that's a conflict of interest for me because I'm part of that, or I have a stake in that, and, recluse myself from that, whatever that issue is. And if I really had to step back, then that's what I would do. If it's in the best interest, whatever in the best interest of the kids, and if that's gonna be the step back and not include myself, then that's what I would do.
Okay, I have the next one.
Okay.
What is your leadership style, and how would you apply it to your service on the board?
That's a good one. I actually thought about that question a lot. And I would say that my leadership style is very democratic. I want to hear, like I said earlier, I want to hear everyone's opinions, right? Like I want to know what you're thinking, the community is thinking, giving everyone a chance to voice their opinions, make my notes, and then, make a decision. Because sometimes you have an idea in your head, and then you hear something else, and you're like, oh, I didn't think about that. That's a different perspective. Okay, so I would say my leadership style is very democratic.
Thank you. Dr. Castañeda Calleros.
Thank you, Madam President. So I have the next question.
Okay.
So Ms. Rosales, if appointed, what are your plans for the November 2026 election?
If I'm appointed by you guys?
Yes.
I would submit to run. I mean, it's, I don't think it's a no-brainer on that one, really.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lopez, next question.
Thank you. Mr. Rosales, what do you consider to be your biggest weakness in serving on a 5-member elected board?
Probably my need to hear everybody else talk first before I make a decision. So sometimes my quietness can be mistaken for, not listening, but it's no, I'm processing what everyone else is saying because I really want to absorb everyone else's opinions.
Thank you.
And Ms. Conchola.
Ms. Rosales, how would you keep the focus on board goals in spite of differences of opinions and political perspectives of other board members?
That's a really good question. I would say that I would keep the focus about the kids. I mean, that's really what we're here for. At the end of the day, it's here to improve the lives of the students that we serve. And if that's not what your intention is, then, I don't know. And sometimes I think silence is okay. We can disagree, but I don't need to react to everything, and I don't need to have an opinion on everything, and I don't need to speak all the time, right? So if there is a disagreement, a difference of opinion, I want to hear, obviously, again, everyone else's perspective, but, I don't want to make it political, and I don't want to make it, an issue. At the end of the day, again, core question, how does that best serve our students? That's always what even in my current role, how does that best serve the kids?
Thank you. Thank you. So that concludes the questions that the board has for you. And you now have 2 minutes to make any closing remarks you'd like to share with us.
I want to thank you for your time and your questions. I know that I'm probably not the most qualified, but I feel like I would make a great addition in that I want to do the best for the kids. That was my intention originally when I started at East Whittier City School District in my current role and in my position as PTA president and also over at Hillview in my position there. So I'm growing as I'm going, and I'm hoping that if you guys give me this opportunity, it's gonna help me to grow more and really understand Whittier Union, because I feel, you know, we're all connected, right? Our kids are gonna come here eventually, so let me help now and let me learn now. I think I could learn too. So thanks guys for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you are now, if you would like, to sit in the back of the, in the public auditorium area
Okay.
to observe the rest of the proceedings.
Thanks.
All right, the board will take a couple minutes here to write notes. Okay, Dr. Venom, we can have Mr. Ford. Mr. Foya, you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Well, Mr. Foya, first on behalf of the board, we want to thank you for participating and putting your name forward to be a candidate today. We are very grateful to have community members like yourself willing to take this next step of leadership to serve in this very, very important and sometimes challenging role of trustee. The board has decided to ask 7 questions. We will not be asking follow-up or clarifying questions to ensure that all candidates are asked the exact same questions. You will have 3 minutes to make an opening statement. You will have 3 minutes to answer the questions, and then we'll provide you 2 minutes to provide any closing remarks. The gentleman over here to your left is Kevin Jamero. Kevin has been asked that when you have 30 seconds remaining, he will simply speak up and say 30 seconds. And then there will be, because it can be disruptive to do that, that is the only guess or instruction you'll have as to how much time you have left. And then after that, the little bell on his computer will ring that the time is up, okay?
Okay.
All righty. So with that, you have 3 minutes to make opening statements.
Well, good morning. I would also like to say thank you for the opportunity to participate in this direct democracy. I see it as. I grew up in South Whittier. I've been here my entire life, 47 years. Attended the local schools, graduated from Cal High, and did briefly move away to the Bay Area to join my husband up there. And then once we decided we had our first child, we did move back to Whittier, and this is where we decided to raise our family. So we have been, I've literally been in the same house on the same property. We have, before the popularity of family communes, the Garcia family, Medina family, we already had a family commune here in South Whittier. My children went to the local school district. I work at South Whittier School District, and as we were chatting in the back, I came into public education because my son started kindergarten. The school principal, Mr. Mesa, said, you should apply for a job because we have plenty of jobs here at South Whittier. So I applied for the job there. And I have been at South Whittier School District for 18 years, 19 years, working in various capacities. I was an instructional aide, working in SPED with the most intense students, which are your moderate to severe students. And I was blessed to work with an abundance of very skilled teachers that taught us how to do on-the-job task management, problem solving. When you work in special ed, you're constantly juggling 10 balls in the air while having 5 students need your attention. And I think that coupled with being a parent, being involved in extracurricular activities with my students, my own children, I think that's really brought me to where I'm at now. I've always been involved in my community, the South Whittier community. I've been involved in PTA, but also politically. My mother
30 seconds.
My mother got me involved with the Whittier Coordinating Community Council, which no longer is in existence, but I was involved with that as well. That's it. I'm just a regular person from the community, raised my family here, and am looking to participate further and bring my knowledge to the table.
Thank you so much. Dr. Castañeda Calleros, you have the first question.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning, Ms. Tafoya. My first question is this. How would your appointment to our board complement the current makeup of the Board of Trustees?
Well, I think that the addition of myself to any organization actually is bringing a benefit. What I bring to the table is my ability to meet people on their level. I'm extremely social and I'm extremely involved anywhere I go. So even at my own job, I have a specific title, which is Administrative Secretary for HR, but I'm also involved in other things. The employees are always coming to me, and I like to be like a community liaison, even though I'm not hired to do that, but I like to match them up with community services because the grander picture of HR is to help the employees. How I would bring that to the board is I'm expanding my ability to be within the community and provide details to people who may not have had access or even know that that exists. I think a lot of times for the South, in particular South Whittier, sometimes it's brushed over for them and they don't understand that they have access to other things. Oh, we can come to the board. Oh, we didn't know that we could do that. No, you can go speak to the principal. Oh, I didn't know that. No, yes you can. I think that my personality gels well with practically everybody. That sounds a little soft, but it's true. I think that I'm just very detail oriented and I'm passionate about being involved in the community and making sure that not only the students but the families are informed well so that they can make decisions that impact their families, which ultimately impact our community. Now, as a 50-plus-year-old woman, I realize the impact thoroughly of a school district on the community for property value, number one, and also for making your community vibrant and alive. I was so shocked, and I'm honored actually that we have so many people coming forward from this area that want to participate on the board, because I think that this is a great stepping stone for people who want to bridge upward and onward with their commitment to the community and to the school district and to the students.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lopez?
Good morning. My question is number 3. Please describe your thought process when taking a position on a controversial issue. How do you determine the position you take, and what factors do you take into consideration?
Well, when considering something controversial, I think it's important to separate emotion from fact. A lot of times controversy rises up in us, and that causes emotion. And when we're emotional, we really can't sometimes make decisions that are based in fact. So for me, on a controversial issue, I do consider what the fact of the situation is and what those facts, what the implications of those facts may be. Unfortunately, in the realm of education, we're not just dealing with black and white. There's a lot of gray, because every student is an individual and every student has individual needs. So you do need to look at the bigger picture. And how do I determine my position? I just am gonna factually say this, that I obviously am a mother, and so my decision making when it would come to a student is always gonna be from that perspective. It's gonna be difficult for me to separate the reality of that I am a mom. But I do consider facts. What position am I gonna take? I'm gonna wanna see the outcome that is more beneficial and least harming for the student, because the decisions that are made could potentially have a negative impact on the student, and that's what nobody wants to be responsible for. We need to set students up for success rather than make a decision based in emotion that could lead them down a path or set them up for failure, unfortunately.
Ms. Concha?
Mr. Foya, I like your name, by the way.
I mean the first name.
Yes, the first name. Do you perceive any current conflicts of interest related to your profession or other factors? If so, how would you approach your role as a board member in light of these? If not, what steps would you take to address a future potential conflict should it arise?
Well, looking at it from this standpoint, well, first of all, you do have a lovely name as well.
Thank you.
I do work for one of your feeder school districts, South Whittier School District. I don't foresee that as a problem because I work in HR, so I don't see how that would be an issue for issues that would be brought up to your board or our school board. Really, I don't see, because it has to do with employees. Unless there was an incident with an employee that had previously been one of our employees, then I would recuse myself and I would immediately let you know that I have a personal or professional relationship with this situation and I don't feel that it would be appropriate for me to make any type of a decision. Because working in HR, you are privy to sensitive information, so we would have to take it on a case by case for that. Other than that, I don't feel that it would be an issue. I am very transparent, I am very open, I will tell people immediately, like, I know who this person is. So I don't think that would be an issue. If there was a potential for something coming down the pike, like, oh, this is gonna happen, I would again come to you and say, I know this situation, or I know this vendor, or I know this because of my employer, and then I would let you know. But also, I probably would speak with the superintendent first to glean what would be acceptable information to share without being discriminatory even to the other person or the other party involved before disclosing it to the board.
Thank you. The next question is mine. What is your leadership style and how would you apply it to your service on the board?
I would say, and I've been through several interviews, I've been on panels for principals. So I've actually looked into this, and I know that based on previous, I'm gonna date myself here, but I would say that I'm a servant leader, not only from having heard that and really read what that is, but also having been involved in church leadership. I do truly believe that I am a servant leader. I lead by example, not only in my work life, but in my home life and in just the community. People are often shocked when I tell them something, but then they will come back to me and say, oh my gosh, you were absolutely correct. And I always say, I don't lie. My delivery method sometimes is harsh because I do just say it. I'm just that type of a person. I'm a Pisces and I don't hold back, so I just say what it is. But I do believe that by providing that servitude, so I love being out in the community. I love my job as HR because I can serve my employees by helping them find the things that they need, or if they're experiencing something, I like to tie them up, as I said previously, to services that are available to them. So servant leadership, yes, definitely. And I don't want to go too much into the religious aspect because that's like so different, but my religious upbringing teaches me to follow what the rules of God, how he puts it out, and of Jesus basically. So I do believe in that. I wholeheartedly believe that when you give from your heart, you also will receive. And people can understand that when you're providing genuine support and service and care for them.
Thank you. Back to Dr. Castaneda Calleros.
Thank you very much. Ms. Tafoya, I have the next question. If appointed, what are your plans for the November 2026 election?
I don't like to make future plans. I think that definitely this would give me an opportunity to see whether or not serving on a school board would be something that would be a long-term goal for me. I don't have any other political aspirations of what I would want to do. I'm in Whittier, I'm staying in Whittier, I love Whittier. I'm not going anywhere. I don't have any other goals that I could speak of right now that would say, oh, I would want to do X, Y, Z thing. I am going to be transparent, again, to say that I do plan on retiring from my job once I am 55, and I am looking at possible South Whittier School Board, just because I have like a deeper connection on that level, obviously. But I feel like this is an opportunity that has presented itself to me, and I believe that it's an opportunity that would allow me to see actually the inner workings, because it's one thing to see the board from the outside looking in, and then this would put me in the place where I can actually know what's going on. So if you're asking if would I run for re-election or would I actually run an election, that would be determined probably if appointed within the first month, because then I would know like, oh yes, I do like this. This is something that I could see myself doing for the foreseeable future. But just know that I do have aspirations of South Whittier. You know, we have these little goals in our mind, and one of the goals in my mind was always South Whittier School Board, and it was, I never even thought, and this is my own being naive, I never even thought that Whittier Union High School District would be available to me, to be completely honest. So when this opportunity presented itself, I was like, oh my gosh, this is something that I never thought would be true, so let me take advantage of that so I can see whether or not I even have the aptitude to do that. Because I could say, yes, I would want to be on the board for the next 10 years, but I don't even know if, you know, that would be in the cards for me. But, you know, I leave that to be determined.
30 seconds.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Lopez.
Thank you, Madam President. Number 15, what do you consider to be your biggest weakness in serving on a 5-member elected board?
In my past experience, I have had numerous opportunities to serve on executive boards, especially with CSEA. I was the chapter president. I have had numerous state appointments to serve on many different types of boards through CSEA. I feel that when you're one of 5, it gives you a better opportunity to communicate with each other and then hash out the details. The school district probably runs the same as the CSEA board, where on the state level, you have issues, everybody's representing a different area, you bring your issue forward, and so working in the collaboration with each other is always the most important thing, and everybody's ability to chime in makes it easier for one person not to feel the burden of running the whole show. My weakness is that I talk too much, you'll know that about me, but also there are times when I get anxious, like I just want, okay, I'm a task-oriented person. Tell me what you want me to do. You want me to do that? You need me to do this? I'm going to do that. So my weakness would be taking the time to breathe and to allow myself to hear everything, which goes back to the controversial, like remove the emotion and allow the facts of the situation to settle in so that I can then perform to the best ability, best of my ability.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Conchola.
Thank you, Madam President. Ms. Tafoya, how would you keep the focus on board goals in spite of differences of opinions and political perspectives of the board members?
Well, I think that the board goals are what drive all of the decision making, in my opinion. So you prominently have to achieve and maintain excellence. That should be at the forefront of the board's mind in every decision that they make or that people make. I am very known for redirecting people back to what the focus is, and I really don't shy away from that. Again, my personality is very forward, you know, it's like a dominant personality where it's like, we need to refocus, and if we're saying success for all students, then it's success for all students. If we're saying to achieve and maintain excellence, we've tackled the achieve, but how are we maintaining? Right, we've talked about this. So I don't have a problem refocusing or bringing back to the table, like we have sidetracked, we've really got off base here, we're talking about X, Y, Z, when the main thing is to achieve and maintain excellence. That should be what brings us back together.
Thank you. So those are the questions that the board has. And now you have 2 minutes to provide any closing remarks you would like to share with us.
Well, again, just thank you for the opportunity. I would like to say that you've reviewed my little application, and I say I am just an average member of the community. I'm a mom who's passionate about not only my children, because they're all grown, but their friends who have children, my neighbors who have children, my community. I may not have the educational background that many people do have, but I took a very point stance in my life where I said I could pursue what I want at the sacrifice of my children from my perspective, and I chose just to be an amazing mother. And I have 3 amazing children, so I know that I've done a good job. Also, of course, without my husband, I wouldn't have been able to do it. But I'm just an average, regular member of the community, and I think that is something that's could be often overlooked or undermined because it's like, oh, you're just a mom. But you know what? Moms get a lot done. And I promise you that if you do take a chance to appoint me, you will not be disappointed and you will find yourself really actually surprised. Like so many people are like, oh my gosh, I thought she was gonna be like this, but she's really like this. And that's it. Thank you for the opportunity. I wish you well, and you know, the deliberation time for you is going to be very hard because I've met everybody in the back and they're all amazing. So no matter what, the community's gonna win. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Foya. So that concludes your interview. So you are now free to stay in the public section here of the session of the meeting. And Dr. Vera, we need a few minutes to write our notes. Okay, Dr. Vera, we're ready.
Sorry about that, we had a good game of Super Mario Bros. Going on back there, so.
All right, well, good morning, Mr. Urtiaga. I want to say on behalf of the board, express our gratitude for your decision to seek appointment to this very important and critical role of trustee for Area 5. We are cognizant of the fact that this is not an easy decision and that it is a courageous one. The board has elected to ask 7 questions, and we will rotate the questions as we go through here. The board will not ask any follow-up or clarifying questions to ensure that all candidates are asked the same exact questions. You will have 3 minutes to make an opening statement. You will have up to 3 minutes to answer the questions, and you will be provided up to 2 minutes for any closing remarks. Mr. Jamero, who is here to your left, is our timekeeper, and he will give you 1 warning when you have 30 seconds left. And then, because it can be disruptive to be given those different types of warnings, that will be the only warning you get until the little bell goes off on his computer to indicate that your time is up.
Throw something at me, right?
Well, he could also yank you after anything. Anyway, with that, please, you have 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Well, good morning. Hello and good morning, Madam President, members of the board, district staff, and the members of the Whittier Union High School District community. My name is Armando Urtiega, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to interview for the vacant Area 5 seat. I look forward to sharing with you a little bit about me, my values, my core beliefs that I believe would positively contribute to the district and continue the great things happening here in the district. I'm a proud parent of 3 boys, Isaiah, Aaron, and Adam, all of whom will be attending district schools very soon. I am married to my lovely wife, who's sitting back there, Lupe, and she is also a teacher, taking a short break, but she is a teacher. For the past 30 years, I've been blessed to work in public education. I began my career as a teacher, then was promoted to Dean of Students, Assistant Principal. I also served 12 years as a site principal at the middle and high school levels. Currently, I'm the Executive Director of Human Resources in the Rialto Unified School District for the past 4 years. I'm also honored to serve as a member of the Board of Education for the East Whittier City School District for the past 20 years. During my tenure on the board, the district has been able to provide the necessary leadership, high academic standards, and stability to the district, which has resulted in students consistently excelling academically, employees' salaries and health benefits among the highest in the county, while making it a priority and commitment that all students and families are valued and have access to quality programs, services, especially those in our underserved populations, like in our special ed, our EL students, homeless and foster youth students. I'm excited to share my experiences and insights with you this morning, as you have an important task of selecting a candidate who would positively contribute to the district's mission and vision, while working alongside trustees and district staff to implement the goals and values committed to increasing student achievement and access for all students. I believe my values as a parent, my experiences as an educator and board member, and my contributions to our community will support my consideration to join the Whittier Union High School District Board of Trustees. Thank you.
Thank you. First question to Dr. Castañeda Calleros.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning, Mr. Urtiaga. Good morning. My question is, how would your appointment to our board complement the current makeup of our Board of Trustees?
I believe my experiences for the last 20 years serving the Whittier community definitely will be a helpful impact. I've been blessed to serve in the local community, working alongside many of our parents and our allies here for education, and being able to work alongside them to bring what's best for our community, not only East Whittier, but the Whittier community. Here in Whittier Union and East Whittier, we serve the same students and the same families, and so we understand what's important for them. I believe my lens is as a parent of special needs students, a parent, an educator, a teacher who's sat in the seat of a teacher through a principal at the high school level, and being able to service students and staff at a wider range at the district office level gives me a perspective that has blessed me as a board member, because I'm able to see both sides and make a judgment at what is the right things for our students, what is the right things for staff. Being able to see those lenses has definitely inspired, encouraged, and brought a different perspective for our members and colleagues. And I've appreciated and loved that the cohesion between our teams and our board members, and be able to be a lens to some of those that maybe some of my colleagues haven't, has been a blessing, and I appreciate that. My special ed's commitment for our students, my EL's commitment for our parents, because we know, especially nowadays, that is a population that is very underserved, not only in the state, but throughout the country, and whatever we can do to help support those families and support those students and making sure that they have access to quality programs and make sure they have access to resources that are available to them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lopez?
Thank you.
Mr. Ortega,
Yes.
please describe your thought process when taking a position on a controversial issue. How do you determine the position you take, and what factors do you take into consideration? This is question number 3.
I believe that your commitment as a trustee is very important, and any decision you make, you have to base it on facts. You have to see if this is something that meets district goals. Is this was the commitment that the district wants us to move forward with? You also got to look at the fiscal responsibility, because sometimes we have grandiose ideas that we want to do a lot of things, but it's not fiscally responsible. How does that align with our district goals? How does that increase student treatment? Those are the things that you want to make sure that you're processing on. You also want to make sure that as a board member, we represent the community, and input and perspectives from our community members and my colleagues is also something that's very, very important. A board is only one of 5, and it's just like a marriage. You got to be able to get consensus. You're not always going to get your way, but you want to be able to respect the perspectives and understand, because sometimes you might be having an idea about some decision, and then the perspectives come out, the input, or how that impacts you changes your mind. That has happened many a times. We all don't have the answer for everything, but that's the whole role of being able to have boards of 5 and 7, multiple polls, because we service our community, and there's different perspectives that need to be in there. But facts, you want to be able, how does it increase student achievement, fiscally responsible, and what impact is it going to have on our district and our schools?
Ms. Conchola?
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Tiaga,
Yes.
do you perceive any current conflicts of interest related to your profession or other factors? If so, how will you approach your role as a board member in light of these? And if not, what steps would you take to address a future potential conflict should it arise?
No, I don't believe it would be a conflict of interest. Actually, I think of it as a positive. I mentioned earlier the lens that you have and the perspective that I've been able to sit in both roles, and understanding both roles have helped me in both roles, if that makes sense. And I see it as a positive, and just bringing a different perspective that will help my colleagues, myself, or any parent or community member to understand both roles. Because sometimes things are brought up to the board, things are brought up to the school site, things are brought up to parents, and that's only one side, and that's a perspective. So I've been blessed to be able to give a counterpoint sometimes and open the door to a different perspective. Life sometimes is about conflict of interest. There's many things, and there's 5 people, you all don't think exactly the same, but it's about compromise, it's about sharing your experiences. The conflicts that we have on East Whittier, the board that I've been serving there, we understand the role of the board member, and respect is something that you have to be able to have. The biggest controversy, because we built that respect and how we're going to respect each other's values and goals, though we don't get to that point, and we hold each other accountable if that ever questions come up. I think the biggest controversy that most people have nowadays, especially who's your favorite sports team? You Angels, Dodgers, you red or white, you Raider fan, you're a Dodger fan, you're Rams. Those are where you should have your commitments and your very heated discussions. But when you're talking about education, you want to focus on goals, you want to focus on who you're impacting, and if there are conflicts, and if there are really conflicts, I don't have businesses within the district, I don't have anything that provides services to the district, so those conflicts are not there. And I don't potential to own any of those services. But if there was ever conflicts, I understand the role. I would need to not recuse myself and not participate in that. But I don't anticipate any of those conflicts.
Thank you.
Next question is for me. What is your leadership style, and how would you apply it to your service on the board?
I believe leadership style, there shouldn't be only one leadership style for everything. I think it varies, it depends on what the circumstances I think if you want the core values or leadership styles that I kind of encompass myself, empathy, integrity, honesty, be a servant leader. A role of a trustee is to serve the community, and you always have to be respectful, hear, listen, and understanding. You know, those are things that you have to be able to share with the community, but you have to, those are core beliefs, not only as a leadership, but those are just things that you should grow up with, those characteristics. Be respectful, be kind, listen to people, hear the other side. What can you do to help? But you also got to, there's times you have to be a transformational leader, where you have to be the first one challenging, spearheading something, and you want people to follow along. So you got to be that leader, so community, side, parents. We're doing this, and these are all the reasons. So you have to be able to step up and be that transformative leader. But being that servant leader, being transformative, and being able to show as a board member, these are the perspectives I have. This is why I do things. This is how important. This is, I want you part of that team. And depending on the experiences or what's in front, there's, in my belief, there's not just one way. There's not one way to do everything. There's a whole role of you got to be able to blend and be flexible depending on the circumstances. Yes.
Dr. Castaneda-Calleros.
Thank you, Madam President. I have the next question. Mr. Ortega, if appointed, what are your plans for the November 2026 selection?
My plans are to run. It's always been my intention my kids are coming into high school. It's always been my intention to consider running for the board, and when they get to the high school, and with an election coming up, you know, this next year, it's always been my intention to take that leap to do it. I have not really made that public. There's only very few people that had known, but it's always been my intention to join this team and try to move along with my children here when they get up here. This opportunity came up, and I definitely want to be able to have that opportunity, and I'm hoping that you consider that. But I do plan on continuing the service if you do are able to, if I'm able to join your team.
Thank you.
Mr. Lopez.
Thank you, Madam President. Number 15, what do you consider to be your biggest weakness in serving on a 5-member elected board?
Sometimes, because there's so many schools, and so many events, and so many things going on, I'm not able to get to, or we're not able, and maybe same for you, you're not able to get to every event. And sometimes you feel guilty about that. And you want to be able to get to every school's event, you get the invitations, and you get the things, and sometimes I feel that, you know, I want to get to everything, but you can't. And when I first joined, that was something that was on top of my mind. A couple of years goes by, you learn how there's a balance there, and you'll be able to balance that out. But I think as a 5-member team, you're able to share the love, share the wealth, and you target areas. And that doesn't mean just going to events in my area. I'm voted by the community in one area, or the member is voted by community in the area, but you represent the whole district. And so you're attending all, you know, as many school functions as you can, and to participate. You're only elected by a small group, but you represent the whole district, and that, I understand that. And so maybe not being able to get to every event that I would want to. You know, there's only a certain amount of time, and there's a lot of events, and high schools have a lot of events, so being able to balance that, I wish I had a little bit more time to get that. So that's what jumps out as a weakness that I think that I would hopefully want to improve on.
Ms. Conchola.
Thank you. Mr. Ortega, how would you keep the focus on board goals in spite of differences of opinions and political perspectives of the board members?
Oh boy, now's political times, huh? I think life's all about differences. I mean, you have, in this room, there might be, you know, various political differences, and at home, you know, spouses and brothers and sisters always have different, but I think at the end of the day, respect for who you're working with, that's important. I mentioned, you know, being a little bit humorous, but, you know, sports is a big controversial team. Who are you? USC, UCLA, Dodgers, you know, Lakers, all those controversies and those things. Those are the conflicts that you want to have those battles on. But you have to have those core values, integrity, respect of who's in front of you, because amongst the 5, and that's why, you know, democratic process, you have the respect of, you have 5 people. You should all not think alike. All sitting committees, all board, there should not be a same view. There needs to be counterpoint. That's healthy. And my experience in East Whittier, That's important. We have 5 members that are important, all represent different things, and I understand that role. I don't overstep. I understand the role of what a superintendent in the district does, and I also understand the role of what the board members, and those should not cross, and those boundaries are not there. And if they do, members need to hold each other accountable for that. And I do think that, you know, there's always going to be differences, and there's always going to be things that I see or someone sees differently. But you get informed, you listen, you hear the perspective, because sometimes, you know, I might have got it wrong, or you might have got it wrong. You just listen. But that's basic human, you know, characteristics and the things you want to do. That's life. There's always going to be about, I'm teaching my kids how to, you know, work with each other, not fight with each other, respect their thoughts, and stay out of their room. Those types of things. It's all about difference of opinion. One likes the room this way, one likes it this way. It's compromise. And that's kind of our role, what we're doing. So in a grander scale, in the role that you're serving, there's a lot of compromise that needs to happen. I'm pretty sure there's votes you're on that you're not 100% on, but you understand the bigger picture. And that's the role of being able to be compromised and respecting the thoughts of your fellow trustees.
Thank you. So that concludes the questions from the board. I know it went by fast.
Yeah.
So you now have 2 minutes for closing remarks.
Okay. Well, I want to thank the board and trustees for allowing me this opportunity. I know you have a hard decision in front of you, and you know, I'm hoping that you see what was on paper in my application and the things that I've been able to share with you, that you would see that I'm a viable candidate. We represent the same communities. I know that sometimes people might say that you're leaving one and going to another. I look at that also as an opportunity. You know, people leave jobs, people leave events, and there's always going to be change. Change is healthy. That's part of it. You got to have change. Change is healthy. We're serving the bottom goal is we're serving the same students for the right reasons. We're providing access for our students, and you want to be able to bring those lenses and experiences to help continue the great things that you have here going on in Whittier Union. Perspective, I bring that perspective from various roles, and I'm hoping that you could see that as an asset. I understand the boundaries on that. I don't overstep my line. You know, you can reach out to my colleagues, you can reach out to my district. I do not, I understand the role and the differences, and I have not been questioned about, you're thinking, you're doing this, you want to do this. I understand the role. And that's been blessed to, the community has allowed me to be on that board for that period of time through 5 elections and being able to get their support of bringing along. I'm hoping that you see that can be a contributor to your board, to your district, and help support the great things you got going on there. And hopefully that you'll be able to see that will help build the great things that you got going on here. I want to thank you for the time and appreciate the opportunity to interview with you.
Thank you so much. So now you are free to participate in the public open session, and then Dr. Vale gives a few minutes to write our notes.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Oviedo, let's bring in our last candidate.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Is it still morning?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah, it's still morning, yes. Let me know when you are ready. Ms. Quintero, last but not least, and I know it got a little lonely back there, but you were in good company.
Yes, I had very good company. Thank you.
But first and foremost, on behalf of our board, we want to thank you for submitting your application to serve in this very important role. We know it takes courage to put yourself out there and to want to serve in this leadership position. The board has selected 7 questions that we will be asking the candidates. It is the exact same questions. The board will not ask follow-up or clarifying questions to ensure that all candidates will ask the exact same questions. You will have 3 minutes, up to 3 minutes for your opening statements. You will have up to 3 minutes to answer the questions, and then at the conclusion of the questions, you'll have up to 2 minutes to present some closing remarks. The gentleman over here to your left, Kevin Jamero, our Assistant Superintendent, is our timekeeper, and he will give you a 30-second warning. Because warnings can be disruptive to people's flows of thoughts, that will be the only warning you get until the clock pings on his computer that will signify the time is up. So, without further ado, please, you have up to 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Okay, good morning again. My name is Desiree Quintero, and I am seeking appointment to the Whittier Union High School District Board of Trustees to represent Area 5. I would like to begin by telling you 3 minutes worth about myself. I am a proud product of the public school system. I went to elementary school in East Los Angeles under WUHSD. I completed middle school and high school in Hacienda Heights under Hacienda La Puente Unified, graduating from Los Altos. I went on to the University of Laverne, earning my Bachelor of Arts in Communications. Upon graduation, I went to work for NBC Universal. I spent a year as a page and then was hired on permanently to work for the entertainment news program Access Hollywood. During my 6 years with Access Hollywood, I gained a vast experience in multitasking, meeting deadlines, and confidentiality. While my time at Access Hollywood was exciting and at times very glamorous, I felt a calling within myself that I was meant to work toward making a difference as a public servant. That is when I decided to change the trajectory of my career. I began employment with the Newport Mesa Unified School District, where I worked in the education, technology, and assessment departments. I assisted with self-testing for our English language learners and also coordinated gate testing for our 21 elementary schools. After my 2 years with Newport Mesa, I began working at the East Whittier City School District. I worked in personnel services, where I hired classified substitute personnel and worked with local colleges and universities on placing student teachers. After 4 years with East Whittier, I was offered a position with El Rancho Unified School District. There I worked in the business services department, assisting with budgeting and financials. Working for 3 different school districts allowed me to gain expansive knowledge in the different approaches utilized by each. I was able to see firsthand what happens behind the scenes, so to speak, and how each administration worked toward individual and collective goals. I then moved to the West Basin Municipal Water District, where I have been employed for the past 6 years. I am the Manager of Administration and Board Secretary. In my position, I work closely with the Board of Directors on agenda prep, staff reports, presentations, scheduling, ethics, compliance, and the Brown Act. I attend and coordinate all district ad hoc, committee, and board meetings. I am also the filing officer for the district. While at the district, I decided to pursue additional education and applied and was accepted into USC. There I earned my master's in public administration
Give me
and was
seconds.
the only student to pursue and attain 2 graduate certificates. I earned a certificate in city and county management, as well as a certificate in public policy. Aside from my professional and educational accomplishments, my greatest accomplishment is my children. I am a proud mother to 2 boys. My oldest is a 9th grader at La Serna High School. He is in the Puente program and is a member of the marching band playing the tenor saxophone. I also have a 5th grader at Murphy Ranch Elementary who is a special ed student, GATE student, an avid and dedicated soccer player. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, first question goes to Dr. Casanera Callanos.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning, Ms. Quintero. Thank you for being here. So my question is this. How would your appointment to the board complement the current makeup of the Board of Trustees?
Excuse me. My appointment as trustee would complement the current makeup of the board, and that, like you, I am a dedicated person to my community and to providing opportunities to the students we serve. I believe in public education. I believe in integrity. I believe in hard work. I believe in dedication, and I believe in collaboration. Aside from my openness to working collaboratively with the board, my background experience working in school districts, public service, and directly with an elected board has afforded me a unique experience. I have seen and know firsthand what it takes to successfully serve on a board. I know the necessary dedication, the hours required, the commitment, the understanding, and all that is expected of a board member. And I am walking into this with my eyes wide open. I am walking into this knowing what it takes and knowing that I am capable and that I will dedicate myself as required to serve. That knowledge and that firsthand understanding will help me in integrating myself into this board and into a position to be of service. Lastly, my appointment would complement the current makeup of the board in that, like you all, I am a parent who wants the best opportunities, not only for my children, but for all the children in this community, as I believe, especially now, the youth are our future. It is the students within our schools that will go on to shape the future of this country and the world. And we owe them every opportunity and every chance at success, as it is not only for them, but for future generations to come. Thank you.
Next question, Mr. Lopez.
Thank you, Madam President, and good morning, Ms.
Good morning.
Quintero. My question is number 3. Please describe your thought process when taking on a position on a controversial issue. How do you determine the position you take, and what factors do you take into consideration?
Yes. When taking a position on a controversial issue, it is important to truly understand the issue at hand. Why is this issue controversial? I was raised with the idea that every action has a reaction. Every action has a consequence, whether that be positive or negative. What would that look like in this specific instance? What are the consequences of support, and what are the consequences of lack thereof? Coming from a news and journalism background, I am very research-minded. I would determine the position I take on this or any other issue only after analyzing the issue and determining the pros and cons, as well as any potential short and long-term ramifications. It is important to do your due diligence. You cannot make an informed decision unless you are able to speak knowledgeably and with an understanding of the issue at hand. As a trustee, it is important to know and understand how this decision will affect the students and the community before you make it.
Thank you. Next is Ms. Canchola.
Good morning, Ms. Quintero. Do you perceive any current conflicts of interest related to your profession or other factors? If so, how would you approach your role as a board member in light of these? And if not, what steps would you take to address the future potential conflict should it arise?
As I shared earlier, I am the Manager of Administration and Board Secretary for the West Basin Municipal Water District. West Basin serves the areas of Carson, Culver City, El Segundo, Gardena, Hawthorne, Hermosa Beach, Inglewood, Lawndale, Lomita, Malibu, Manhattan Beach, Palos Verdes Estates, Rancho Palos Verdes, Redondo Beach, Rolling Hills Estates, and West Hollywood. The service area of the district does not overlap in any way with the boundaries of the Whittier Union High School District. I do not perceive my profession creating any conflicts, of interest or having any negative impact on my ability to successfully perform the duties of trustee and to successfully represent Area 5. In fact, I believe my profession gives me a greater level of experience and greater understanding of the role of a board member. I also have no plans or desire to pursue any other elected office. I have every intention of only serving as trustee of Area 5. For some reason, should a potential conflict arise, I would be sure to disclose that to the board and the superintendent at the earliest opportunity, as I fully understand that transparency is crucial in public service.
Thank you. I get to ask the next question. What is your leadership style, and how would you apply it to your service on the board?
My leadership style has evolved over time and is often based and suited to the situation and the specific role I am in. The type of leadership that works in the classroom may not necessarily be the type of leadership that would be best suited for a team of employees or the best suited for a school board. I believe leadership to some extent is situational. If I had to categorize my leadership style, I would say it is part bureaucratic, part democratic, and part visionary. Bureaucratic in that I believe it is important to have clearly defined duties and responsibilities for each position with a specific chain of command and a set of rules and processes in place. This style suits me in that I am detail-oriented, disciplined, organized, hardworking, and passionate about my area of expertise. It is democratic in that I believe there is value in shared decision-making amongst team members, or in this case, amongst board members. Democracy allows for equal participation, collaboration, and encouragement to share talents and knowledge within the team. And visionary in that having a long-term goal for the future and working toward that goal with others is essential to success, especially in a school district. Creating a unified vision for any organization requires comprehensive communication, setting clear targets along the way, and maintaining enthusiasm and motivation amongst team members.
Thank you. Next is Dr. Castañeda-Calleros.
Thank you, Madam President. Ms. Quintero, I have the next question. If appointed, what are your plans for the November 2026 election?
For the past 2 years, maybe a little over, I have felt compelled to do more to give back to my community, to be a voice for my community, and to run for public office. I have had a calling in my spirit to step up and work to make a positive difference in my community. It has been my intention for these past 2 years to run for the trustee Area 5 seat during the next election. And that is still my intention today. If I am chosen for this appointment, I will proudly serve out the remainder of the current term representing trustee Area 5 and then run for election in November 2026.
Thank you.
Mr. Lopez.
Thank you, Madam President. Question 15. What do you consider to be your biggest weakness in serving on a 5-member elected board?
Well, I currently work with a 5-member elected board, and I really enjoy working with them. I have seen them work collaboratively, and I have seen them disagree. They are 5 very different people, and when they come together, it is amazing the things that they can accomplish. Still, they work to represent their constituents and what is best for them. Sometimes that means they have to stand up for what they feel is the right choice. Sometimes there is compromise, sometimes there is not. In seeing how the board works and how each member has their individual goals, as well as the board collective goals, it is interesting to see how they work to find the balance between the two. I have learned a lot from the board members, and they have been great mentors. With my knowledge of boards and the procedures, regulations, Brown Act requirements, I don't foresee any of those things being an issue for me. If anything, the Brown Act and compliance are my strength. In thinking about it, I would say I consider my biggest weakness to be that I like to be prepared. And as you see, sometimes some people might say over-prepared in my role, meaning I would ideally like to receive feedback from the residents I would represent in Area 5, but I know there are limitations, and sometimes you have to work with the knowledge and information you have and use that to make the best decision that you can. With that, I would be interested in learning more about the district's communications plan, outreach, and messaging efforts. I would work to gather as much information on the issues as I possibly can while working to understand that I am here to represent my community to the best of my ability, and that is exactly what I intend to do.
Ms. Concho.
Thank you. Ms. Quintero, how would you keep the focus on board goals in spite of differences of opinion and political perspectives of the board members?
I believe differences of opinions can result in great collaboration. I am a believer in the idea that in collaboration, 1 + 1 can equal 3. If I come to the table with an idea and you come to the table with your idea and we come together to discuss those, we can come up with a third original idea. And we do that while keeping collaboration, our collective goal in mind. And our discussion can result in something that neither of us thought was possible. I would also keep my focus on board goals in spite of differences of opinions and the political perspectives of other board members by remembering what brought me here in the first place, remembering why I'm here. I am here to serve the students and community members. I'm here to be an advocate, to be a representative. I am here to ensure that all students attending the schools of Whittier Union High School District have the opportunity to achieve and maintain their own excellence, and that is where my focus will lie first and foremost.
Thank you. That concludes the 7 questions that the board has presented to the candidates. I know it goes by very quickly. You now have 2 minutes to present to us any closing remarks.
First, I would like to thank you all for allowing me to share a little bit about myself, my views, and my qualifications with you this morning. I would like to share a few things I was unable to share in my opening statement. I am an active member of my community. I am a certified notary public and offer free notarial services to members of my community. I volunteer at the Los Angeles Regional Food Bank as often as possible and volunteer at the local schools regularly. I also have a valid substitute teacher credential, and I'm currently pursuing my certified municipal clerk certification. All of my experience and education has led me to this moment and this opportunity before me. I am motivated, driven, and have the desire to bring my experience, knowledge, and heart into serving the residents of Trustee Area 5 and the entire Whittier Union High School District community. Lastly, I would like to share that I'm very passionate about this position. Being a trustee is a privilege and a serious responsibility, and I do not take that lightly. I have worked hard to gain the professional experience and education necessary to understand public service, public administration, public policy, and to understand this role and all that is required to be successful in this appointment. I would be honored to be appointed to the Board of Trustees serving Area 5, and I know that together, working collaboratively and collectively as a board, we could do great things to serve the district, to serve the students, and to serve the community as a whole.
30 seconds.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, the board will need a couple of minutes here to write our notes. Ms. Quintero, since you are the last candidate, obviously you can continue to participate by observing, but there will be no other candidates that will be interviewed after you, so just give us a minute here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Members of the board, I'd like to entertain a motion for a short comfort break and to allow each of us an opportunity to review all of our notes collectively and be prepared to come back and deliberate. I would propose a 20-minute break Mr. Lopez, would that be your motion to take a short 20-minute break to allow an opportunity for us to review all of the candidates and the questions? Do I have a second?
Second.
Alrighty, without objection, that shall be the order of the board. We will take, there's a point of order from the superintendent.
So on advice of council, we would recommend that the board not have more than 2 in the cabinet room during that comfort break.
That's fine. No more than 2. I think Ms. Control and I will beat the gentleman to the restroom ourselves, and then we'll let you guys go in. So let's go 20 minutes. We'll reconvene at 10:50 a.m.
And we do have a ballot.
Item number 8, which is consider approval to appoint provisional board of trustee member to fill the current vacancy in trustee area 5. I'm going to ask my fellow trustees to first make comments with respect to the candidates generally, their impressions and et cetera. We'll all get an opportunity to do that, to listen to each other's perspectives on our assessments. And then after that is completed, I will come back and ask each trustee to rank their top 3 candidates and see if from doing that we can somehow coalesce or take it from there in terms of what, how we would appoint a trustee. We did something similar last time when Ms. Canchola was appointed. And so I'm going to start with Dr. Castañeda Calleros. If you will proceed, please, with your impressions of the candidates.
Thank you, Madam President. And first of all, I just want to express gratitude to each of the 6 candidates who came up today. First of all, voluntarily we're sequestered back there. You didn't have to, but I'm glad you all did. Hopefully you got to know each other a little bit. And then took the hot seat and proceeded to respond to 7 questions. And from personal experience, I know that this is not easy to do. I know when I went through my appointment process back in 2010, I didn't stick around for the deliberation. I hightailed it right out of here. It was too nerve-wracking for me. So the fact that most, if not all of you are still here is a credit to you, so thank you. I'm going to start in the order in which we interviewed you, and so I'll start with Mr. Thomas Baird. A couple of things stood out to me. Mr. Baird, I really appreciate the fact that you said that that you are a good listener based on who you are and what you do, and that you intend to be a good listener. That came up repeatedly throughout your interview, so I made note of that, and I think that's super important to be on this board, is to be a good listener. I also highlighted that you were centered on the well-being of students. I took note of the phrase, "You must earn your stance before taking it." That was very compelling for me. And another thing that stood out in the conflict of interest question, not only did you say you believe in transparency, but you offered an example of action to back up that belief by stating that you went to your HR department and filled out a conflict of interest form just to be cautious and to be on the careful side. And to me, that was very telling. Appreciate your approach to servant leadership. I wrote down lead based on need, so I appreciate that. And yeah, those are the highlights I wanted to call out, and thank you for interviewing. Dr. Lori Watkins, thank you for interviewing today. I wrote down your totality of experiences. That was very impressive. I very much am impressed by the reality of your background, having served as a classified employee and as a faculty member and as an administrator. That's very difficult and very rare, but you bring all 3 lenses, and I think those would be very helpful to this board. And you mentioned that you bring multiple lenses to bring to the table. I appreciate your approach to controversial items by relying on research. That's very important for our board as well. And you mentioned your background in special education. That's student population is very critical to our success as a district. I'm glad you're here to serve, and I appreciate your honesty when you said you haven't done this before. And that takes a lot of courage, to be honest like that. And but you follow that up by saying nothing is done in isolation. And I think that really captures the spirit of serving on a board as one of 5. It is true, nothing's done in isolation. We need to work together. And I appreciate your deep roots and that your children and potentially grandchildren are going to be going to school here. So that really speaks to the multi-generation deep roots of your family here in Whittier. I'm glad that you're still active as well in terms of your teaching at Biola. Let's see. Yes, so that sums up my comments there. And then Christine Rosales, I wrote down that I thought when you said you wanted to join us, I believed you because you smiled more than any other candidate. And that shows a lot of warmth. I really appreciate that. We probably look stone-faced and stoic up here, but seeing you smile, I'm like, wow, she really wants to join our board. So I appreciate that. I wrote down, you want to hear what everyone else thinks and talk to as many people as possible. I appreciate that. And again, that goes back to the emphasis on listening first, and God giving us 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? I wrote down that I was pleased when you said you would run it. It's a no-brainer. That made me chuckle. It takes a lot of courage. For some people, they have to deliberate and think about that, and I respect that too, but the fact that you said it's a no-brainer, I would run. And I'm a mother too, so I appreciate your mother perspective. Again, I like the fact that you said you need to hear everyone else before you speak, that you need time to process and absorb. I really identified with that. I think we have a lot of students that are like that as well, that need to process and absorb before they speak, and that's how they learn, and I appreciate that. And I like your focus on the kids as well. And I liked your humility when you said you may not be the most qualified, but you're a lifelong learner, and that shows a lot of self-awareness, so thank you. And then Ms. Tafoya, I wrote down that I appreciated your confidence. It's not surprising to me, given that that's something that I observed back at Cal High in Condor days. And it was really important for me to hear, this is critical, I think you were the only one that said this in the controversial topic question, the importance of separating emotion from fact. That is so crucial to serving on a board when we have a lot of controversial topics. So I appreciate you saying that, because you said when we are emotional, we overlook facts. Also, you have multiple lenses. You were transparent about your lens as a mother, in terms of that being a very critical lens for you to make decisions. I respect that. And I appreciated the specificity of your answer with conflict of interest with the South Whittier School District. And you don't see it as an issue, but if an issue came up, you would disclose it right away. That's all we can ask for. And so thank you for putting your mindset in that situation and walking that through with us. And that really helps us. Highlighted servant leader. I do believe your church leadership is relevant. I think there's a lot of value in that type of service for this board, especially for those of us that ascribe to servant leadership. And I totally respect the fact that you said you couldn't commit to running yet. That also shows a lot of self-awareness in terms of where you are with your life and your community and your family. And you want to see how it is the first month or so, and that's totally understandable. And I highlighted board goals drive decision-making. Right on, so thank you for that. And I think the most telling phrase that I highlighted was, no matter what we do, no matter who we pick, the community is going to win. So that makes me feel a little bit better also, but it's still a very difficult decision. And I'm not looking forward to having to rank, given that there's so many qualified candidates here. I wish we could expand our board to 7, but we can't do that yet. Armando, Mr. Urquiaga, very impressive, your experience in public education in multiple perspectives, as a parent, as a site principal, as a district leader, as a board member, as a leader of a board. Very impressive. And also, I want to mention that I read with pleasure the 4 letters of recommendation that came in support of your candidacy, and the public comment we received today. We listen to those and we read those. I highlighted that your position as Executive Director of HR could be very informative in terms of our role in working on personnel issues. I think you were one of the only ones to mention that we have to make decisions based on fiscal realities, and that's something that we're all living through right now. And so thank you for that. In terms of your approach to leadership, I wrote down that you mentioned servant leadership, but I think you're the only one that said transformational leadership as well. And I really respect that, and we need that on this board. I also wrote down the importance of being kind. So thank you for mentioning that. And again, thank you for your candidacy. And then Ms. Quintero, thank you for interviewing today. I highlighted a couple of things here. Your openness to working collaboratively, again, your lens as a parent and as a student, and being able to be honest about your willingness to run. It sounds like you've been thinking about that for a couple of years, so thank you for sharing that. I also highlighted that you're research-minded, really love that. And you mentioned that in the conflict of interest question, you don't see one right now, but if one should arise, you will disclose. Again, that's all we can ask. And in terms of your, I appreciate that trajectory. Sometimes people go through career pivots, and I like the fact that you walked us through your career pivot and your background in NBC Universal and Access Hollywood. That could be super helpful in terms of our work in highlighting our students and telling our stories, so thank you for that. I think you're the only one with that kind of background. Really like your inclusion of democracy and your leadership style question and your intent to give back. And I also just want to compliment you on how prepared you were. You were definitely prepared, and that shined through in your interview. And I think you had the quote 1 + 1 = 3. That was very provocative, so thank you for that. And thank you for your service in the community. So, Madam President, those are my general comments, and I know you can come back to me for the ranking after I hear from my colleagues.
Thank you so much, and now to Mr. Lopez.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to thank everyone for being here on a Saturday morning. It's your dedication, and it shows that you care about our district. And I want to thank everyone who submitted their community comments. I know we had 4 or 5 community comments, one here today, and the other were written. So, and I'll recognize those comments in my future comments here. And I just want to highlight the principles that I kind of live by. Obviously, to go by this mission, achieve and maintain excellence. Also, fiscal responsibility, recruiting qualified staff, improvements of subgroups, sharing our success story, super important. And to have a really strong union administration relationship. And overall student achievement, and of course the democratic process. So with that in mind, just going to highlight some things that I heard from each candidate. Mr. Baird, thank you for letting us know about your alumnus from Cal High, 20 years in Area 5. And I see that you did mention that you definitely want to keep, folks accountable, and superintendent and administration. And your social work does overlap of what we do. And of course, areas of improvement, United Board, that's super important. Always improve. We must try to achieve that. And also, and then you mentioned the wellness of students and families. Super important, especially what we're going through today. Collaboration, and I like your comment about servitude leads. So those are my comments. And Dr. Watkins, I love that fact that you recognize that Whittier Union is recognized throughout the state. And I love that, whether, academic level, whether at the, at the personnel level, or obviously at the athletic level. We must continue to be recognized by the state. And anyways, and let me see what Ms. Rosales, I like the fact that you mentioned that you kind of highlight the democratic style, that you value that. And I love when you said quietness is not a weakness. Yes, a lot of people move and shake things around without really, saying it and such, but for the greater good of the district. So thank you for mentioning that. And your focus on the kids, that's important. And we have, let me see here. I like your community college experience, PTA. Your strength is definitely community involvement. You've been involved in the community. And I like the fact that you mentioned that, overall respect. Respect is super important. And let me see number. Okay, Ms. Tafoya. I understand that you're eyeing the South Whittier School District position. And also, I like the fact that, yes, you're doing a lot of things, but you mentioned that you manage your time well. Super important. And you did mention that you can separate from emotions from facts. And that's what we must do here. Emotions from facts. That's a highlight for me when you spoke to that. And you understand that the board's goals drive the decision making. Absolutely. As a collective group, we do come up with goals and objectives, and that's what drives us. So thank you for that. Let's see here. Okay, Ms. Quintero?
Mr. Urtiaga?
Oh, Mr. Urtiaga, sorry. You did mention CIF in your application. Super important. Thank you. As we know, we have very passionate parents, students. You did mention your experience with that. And fiscal responsibility. Fiscal responsibility, you're right. Without a good fiscal responsible, footing, we can't do things. So thank you for mentioning that. And I love the fact that you mentioned that you're going to work with parents, or you have worked with parents to find the best solution. I'm glad, because we can't leave them out, right? And yeah, and I want to recognize all the comments. There's 5 comments that in support of your candidacy from Ms. Cunningham, also the Supervisor Hahn, Assemblywoman Pacheco. So, and I just want to, recognize that. And the last one?
Ms. Quintero.
Ms. Quintero, thank you. Okay, Ms. Quintero, first and foremost, I've got to recognize that you're a parent. You're a parent, of a Lacerda kid, PTSA, and I really like your quote, schools to give the students a strong educational foundation. Your education speaks for itself, and you were prepared, USC grad, and you work at different schools, so you have that experience. And let me see if I have one more. Gate testing. That's key. You have that perspective. I think it's super helpful to get your perspective. if you're on the dais. And you know the role. You absolutely know the role. So, and one last thing, the Brown Act. It's, you know, it's administrative stuff that you need to know, and I'm glad you highlighted that. With that, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Ms. Canchola?
Thank you. First of all, I apologize for the beeping. My sugar level is a little low, that's why I'm drinking soda to get it up. But I wanted to first thank all of the candidates and all of the community members that are here, actually, for spending the morning with us. This is a very important leadership role because we're educating our students and we're making the policy decisions for all of our Whittier Union High School District students, and collaborating with their families and our communities in terms of really prioritizing what is best for our scholars. So it's very important, and we thank you for being here on a Saturday where you could be home in your pajamas and, you know, just enjoying life, right? I wanted to just make a few brief comments. I think my colegas have already really kind of said everything, a lot of the things that I had observed as well, but in terms of some of the comments that I wanted to make, Mr. Baird, I really appreciated your family history and upbringing in terms of serving our community. I can see that it's bringing a lot of essence in terms of the connection and importance of community work. I like when you mentioned that you approach things on a person-centered approach, that's your approach. I see that you're trained in listening and collaborating, which is very valuable in working in a district, on a board. And then that you identify yourself as a servant leader, because I think that's a value that is very important to our board. Dr. Watkins, I wanted to mention that I really appreciate the array of experience that you bring in terms of the K-12 and the higher education experience. So I see the connection that you're able to make throughout. And then I really appreciated that you said that you understand the role and collaborating with the superintendent, because the superintendent role in the board is very different. And I like when you mentioned that ultimately all of our work has to have an alignment with our board goals. So I think that you really understand that connection. Ms. Rosales, I appreciate that you said that you were a blank slate, because there's always room for creativity there and building. I appreciated also that you mentioned that you like looking into people's perspective and asking questions like, what do you think? And really looking into what other people have to offer. And that you said that your approach is very democratic in terms of your leadership style. Ms. Tafoya, I appreciated that you mentioned that education is not black and white, that we have to look into looking at the students' individual needs, that you coming from a feeder district that also understands the local community in terms of the Area 5 people that could be served in that community, and also that you are also identified as a servant leader. Mr. Ortiaga, I appreciated that you bring the lens as a parent, educator, district staff, and board member. There's a lot of on-house experience. I appreciated also that you mentioned your commitment to students and parents, and that your decisions are based on facts, and that you understand both worlds. So, really bringing the whole rounded perspective in terms of service and the need for this particular role as board members. Ms. Quintero, I appreciated that you said that leadership is situational. I also noted in terms of 1 + 1 = 3, because I value a lot in terms of collaborative work. Also that you come with, you said, wide open eyes, you know, and that you're research minded, and you also mentioned about making sure that we do that you would do the due diligence, which is very important to all of the work and policy. And then also, I appreciate that you have experience in working with the board from the staff side, because I think that brings a different element, and then also in terms of working with the staff that the school board works with. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me share again my gratitude for the incredible candidates we received, and for your courage to come forward and be considered and be questioned in open session, and who knows who else is on our Zoom link, who knows. But it is incredibly important that you did so. I will supplement a little bit of what my other board members have said about each of the candidates to keep this a little shorter so we can get into the rankings. With respect to Mr. Baird, very nice to meet you. I found you to be genuine, humble. I very much appreciated that you are a great listener. I could tell that from your comments. That was a very common theme. That you're student-focused, a servant leader, and also appreciate that you've got children who are about to attend our schools. That's a very important perspective as well. Dr. Watkins, I very much enjoyed hearing about your career and your connection to our district. I think you described it as the full circle experience. I think being a trustee is the only one left that you've got to check off on all the things that you did. What I very much appreciated was you made a comment about you would find the commonality with all of us, and that is our children, in terms of bringing us together to consensus. And I very much also appreciate that you've had generations of children, and you might be the first person on this board who would have grandchildren potentially in the district. So that's a very important lens for me as well. Ms. Rosales, there you are back there. Great energy. Very much appreciated the openness. I too heard the blank slate comment, and that you would have no preconceived notions about the opinions or any of us here. I think that was incredibly reflective. The fact that you also shared that you are a listener, that you are a democratic leader, I think that's very helpful perspective for us to understand. Ms. Tafoya, also great energy, very positive, and I thought answers that were incredibly honest. My probably favorite answer of the whole morning was that when you described your weaknesses, well, maybe some would say I would talk too much, or that I have anxiety. I think that reflects an effort, and I did not see that as a weakness. I see that as you turned it into that it leads you to be a better listener and to breathe. I can't tell you how many times on this dais I think we've all said to ourselves, don't forget to breathe. So that resonated with me. And obviously your strong connections to South Whittier, your work at South Whittier School District, and that you are a mom who was passionate. I think those are all things that stuck with me. Mr. Urtiaga, we've known each other in passing over the last few years as I've been in elected office, and I will say that I was very pleased to see that you had submitted your candidacy. You were prepared, you were poised, you were smiling. It is clear from your interview and from your application that this is work that brings you much meaning and joy. I appreciate that you were the only candidate that reflected the issues of our financial fiduciary obligations and how important it is to govern with all of those we may want, but to make sure that we are also governing with fiduciary responsibility. Your challenge I found interesting because I'm going to describe it a little bit differently. That is what your weakness was, and you said your weakness was perhaps not being able to do everything you want to do as a trustee because you're balancing the needs of work, family, and being a board member. I think we can all relate to that, and that obviously it's not going to get any easier. But that is an incredible reflection on we all want to be everywhere if we can. You're respectful, as one of your values, you're clearly a listener, and I noted that you described that the leadership style you have is different depending on the situation, that it's a servant style, but that it's also can be transformational when the moment is there for you to do so. And again, I also appreciate that you have sons who will be coming into the district student population. And last but not least, Ms. Quintero. Incredible preparation, very much appreciated. I think you noted that your weakness was that perhaps some would perceive you as over-prepared. As an attorney, there's no such thing. I'm going to tell you that right now. And so very much appreciated the thoroughness with which you had prepared and your presentation and your presence as you answered the questions that we posed to you. I noted that your background as a journalist is really a lens that I don't think any of us up here have. So that is different, and I always appreciate that people having different perspectives does lead to better decision making. Your school district background, the explanation of the pivot in your career, your work at West Basin obviously, and you also have two sons, one who's currently a student and one who will be with us soon. And I too was struck by your 1 + 1 = 3 comment. That was very moving to me, and your commitment to doing your due diligence and working together. So those are my generalized comments of my takeaways from the different interviews. Does anybody want a quick minute before they make their comments about, as we rank the candidates? Is everybody ready to proceed?
Thank you, colleagues, and thank you, Madam President. I do have one comment before we go to the next part of our deliberation. And I'm struggling with, I'll be honest, I'm struggling with only highlighting 3. And I'm wondering if maybe we could have the opportunity to highlight 4. But I want to be open to my colleagues, but I want you to counter and disagree if you think 3 is really going to be the approach that helps us get to where we need to go.
I'm open to 4. Ms. Concholo?
So I'll tell you, this whole process is very tough. And that's a good thing, because it speaks to the quality of applicants that we have. But I would like us to focus on 3, just so that we can move the process a little bit forward. That's half of the candidates that are applying. So I would offer the suggestion that we keep it to 3.
Mr. Lopez?
I would agree with Trustee Conchola. I think to be mindful of everyone's time, and let's move things along. My number is number 3. Is 3 as well.
Dr. Castaneda Calleros, would you still be comfortable with 3, or?
I would. I defer, and
Okay.
I appreciate the chance to have this dialogue.
Okay, so with that, one more point of order.
I just want to recognize, another comment that came in, and I have to recognize it. School board member from the East Whittier School District is Wendy Carrera, with the support of Mr. Ortiega as well. That's all.
Who is with us today?
She's with us today. Thanks.
Okay, Dr. Castaneda Calleros, if you don't mind being the first one to share with us where, after this very difficult process, what I would like to consider to be a fair, transparent, and robust process, where you're leaning.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to go first, and just want to share 2 prefatory comments before I give my rankings. I'd like to explain to the candidates and to the community what I'm looking for in our next board member. I'm looking for someone that is willing to be part of a team, that is willing to work with each of us collaboratively, and also with our superintendent, and that is going to step in and be ready to be one of 5, and really, if you include the superintendent, one of 6, and also be able to work with our employee unions and our teachers, classified staff, administrators, students and families, and community partners. And that's what I'm looking for personally. And to that end, I've developed a rubric. And I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail due to time, because I want to be respectful of time, and I know it's already 11:30. But in my rubric, I had various categories. I read the applications that came in. I listened to the interviews today. I jotted down notes from your opening and closing statements. And I have categories that include student-centeredness, ability to represent the communities in your trustee area, your roots in the community, the extent to which I think you can be independent, ethical content, and then I ask myself, can I work with this person? And then also complementarity with my colleagues, and then the quality of the interview. So I scored internally in my own personal records based on what I observed and what I read. So I just want to let you know that's how I came up with my rankings. And so with that, the second thing I wanted to say is if you're not in my top 3, I don't want you to walk away from this room thinking that you're unqualified. No, it's just that what I'm looking for is a best fit for what I think who could work with our team. So I just want to make that abundantly clear. Because as I intimated before, I wish I could appoint more than one of you today, given the level of talent and given the level of passion that is evident in this audience. And so in no particular order, the 3 I'd like to advance, Madam Superintendent, Madam President, Josefina Tafoya, Dr. Lori Watkins, and Thomas Baird.
Okay. And Mr. Lopez.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. I just want to thank all the candidates once again. Just get good to it. I have to look at the comments and the focus that each of the candidates expressed. So I'm not gonna just go over it. I already, talked about my principles and such. Here are my top 3 in no particular order. Okay. Baird, Mr. Baird, Ms. Quintero, and Mr. Ortega.
Okay.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Ms. Conchola.
Thank you. I actually didn't put it into a rubric per se, but I was looking at pretty much the same things that Dr. Rosa Castañeda Callados was looking at, including not just the actual application, the responses, but then also in terms of today's presentation, like overall presentation. So without going any further, my top 3 for me would be Dr. Lori Watkins, Mr. Armando Ortiaga, and Ms. Desiree Quintero.
Wow. Okay. I will also, without preamble, just name the 3 that I would advance. Again, in no particular order, Mr. Baird, Mr. Urdiaga, and Ms. Quintero. So give me a second here while I review. All right, so from looking at the tally of the folks who were, I'm going to just summarize this and then we can talk about what the process is. It appears that Mr. Baird was advanced by 3 of us, Mr. Urtiaga by 3 of us, Ms. Quintero by 3 of us, and Ms. Tafoya by 1 person. So given that tally, may I suggest that we focus our conversations on Mr. Baird, Mr. Urtiaga, and Ms. Quintero?
No objection.
I know Dr. Casalina Calleros, Mr. Foya was someone you had advanced.
Right.
And I'm sorry, Ms. Watkins also got two.
She got
Pardon me,
two.
Pardon me, Ms.
Mhm.
Watkins got two.
Right, right. No, I recognize that two of my top three did not receive the requisite number of votes this first go-around, so I have no objection to advancing Mr. Baird, Mr. Urtiaga, and Ms. Quintero.
Okay. So I know this is a very challenging time for those of you whose name is not being advanced. Please continue to feel free to stay in and be part of this deliberative process with us. What I'd like to go next is hear from, in no particular order, except that if you want to be recognized first, from my fellow board members about these three candidates, Mr. Baird, Mr. Urtiaga, and Ms. Quintero, in terms of why you, and all of us listening, why you would think which of them would be the candidate that you would see as best suited to serve as our trustee. You want to go first,
Just,
Mr. Lopez?
I do.
Okay.
Point of clarification, so you want us to come up with one or two?
What I'd like you to do is with the three that we have now advanced, Mr.
Right.
Baird, Mr. Urtiaga, Ms. Quintero, is to share with us your thoughts about how you would rank the three of them should you, for appointment to the trustee.
Thank you.
Does anyone want to go first?
Thank you, thanks.
Ranking?
Well, in our point of clarification, so as we respond to your invitation to rank among these three, are we expected then just to let you know who our top choices among the three and maybe not go into detail about who's second and who's third?
Well, this is our own process. If what you would prefer is to say, of these three, here's my top candidate without explaining why, that's up to you. And if it's easier for the rest of the board, I'm happy to go first as well.
First, if you like.
It's up to you.
Thank you. I like hearing from other people first.
Okay. I just want to, again, thank you, colleagues. Thank you. I know it's a decision, a hard decision.
Mm-hmm.
And so a couple things that I'm thinking about. One, about the community support. It's super important that we have our next board member that has the community support. And also either a parent or it's going to be a parent, at the district. That's another factor. So I'm going to go with, again, with Mr. Urtiaga, okay? Considering community support and practical experience of being on the board and, being an administrator and such. And yeah, that would be my choice. I don't know if you want me to go on to the next question.
I think it'd be helpful to us all to hear your thought
Okay.
process on that, because I think
Okay.
that's how we can make the best
And then,
decision.
of course, Mr. Baird, okay, and Ms. Quintero.
Either you prefer to go second, or are you okay if I go second, or? Let me go second.
Sounds good.
All right, let me, and obviously normally as the president of the board, I'd have the point of privilege of going last, but I know that my colleagues are really deliberating on this process. So my ranking of the remaining three is, my first choice would be Mr. Urtiaga, my second would be Ms. Quintero, and the third would be Mr. Baird. For Mr. Urtiaga, what really resonates with me is that this is a person who, for the last 20 years, has in fact been elected and to represent this area. And that's very important to me, that he's made that effort and been there. I think the fact that he has 3 sons who are soon going to be in our district is also very important to me, as I think it's important to have people who are either about to be our parents in our district or currently have students in our district, as I know my kids have now graduated. I very much feel that given the letters of recommendation, particularly the one I thought from the parent who's not an elected official, about his character, his commitment, his presence as a father, in those school activities, and the change that he drove on a private matter in a private way really spoke to me. Ms. Quintero was, again, incredibly prepared. The answers were very much on point. The background on that you brought from the whole scope of those experiences also spoke to me, because again, I'm a big believer, similar to you, 1 + 1 does equal 3. And so having a different perspective, and again, you also have a son at one of our high schools, and you have an upcoming student. Mr. Baird, your genuineness, your being a listener, being collaborative, your work as a social worker, and your approach to being people first and student first is also what led me to put you in my top candidacy. Unfortunately, we can only appoint one. And my first choice is Mr. Urtiaga, as I've indicated, for those reasons. Who would like to go next? Dr. Castañeda Calleros.
I think it's my turn.
Yes.
Well, thank you both for going first and for laying the groundwork and giving us the rationale for your top candidate at this point. Right now, I just want to be clear. I could work with any of these three that are in this round. I just want to be abundantly clear about that. Even though Ms. Quintero and Mr. Urtiaga were not in my top three, that doesn't mean I can't work with either one. I wanted to just make that crystal clear because of their qualifications and their experiences and the perspectives, for the many reasons that both of you have already articulated. My top choice among these three, though, is Mr. Thomas Baird. I just really appreciate his deep roots in the community. I like the fact that having a social work perspective is different than the perspectives that we have up here on our board. I know we have, it really benefits being able to have a different way of life and a different lens, and I think that's helpful in coming to consensus on difficult decisions sometimes. I also just appreciate his humility, his spirit. He mentioned, again, listening and being collaborative several times. He had thoughtful responses. It seems as if his actions back up his words, and was really impressed with his application as well. Has been civically engaged for quite a while. Appreciate the family tradition of service, multiple generations. And even when he shared his perceived weakness about being slow to jump into a stance, that was shared with a little levity, and we can all use a little levity these days. And I think he would work well with the four of us and with Dr. Oviedo. So, and again, I when I hear servant leadership, that's very much aligned with my own approach to leadership. And so that's why I am advancing him as my number one. Thank you.
Do you want to share with us at all a number 2 or a number 3?
In terms of my value of working with either of them, yeah, I'd be happy to.
Well, in terms of as I think Mr. Lopez and I sort of ranked the
Oh,
three.
sure.
So
Yeah, I have
if
Mr. Urtiaga as number 2. For many of the reasons you've already given, his experience is spectacular and impressive, and it represents commitment and stability. To be able to serve the same district for 20 years is something that I really appreciate, and I'm in awe of that. And it shows that the community believes in Mr. Urtiaga, and he has a long history of serving, and I believe will serve well on our board. So that's why I would put him number 2. And Ms. Quintero, I have you number 3 right now, but it doesn't mean that I wouldn't value working with you as well. So thank you.
Okay, so then that leaves you, Ms. Conchola.
Yes, thank you. I purposely asked to be the last because I'm like really struggling in terms of my one and number 2. I really think that these 3 individuals seem 100% committed to community service, and like our Madam President mentioned, there's only one position, but that doesn't mean that you cannot contribute to Whittier Union and our community through other work. So I hope that, and that actually goes to all the 6 candidates. You know, if I hope that, you know, if you are truly interested in serving the Whittier Union student and family community, that that you plug into some of the volunteer future opportunities that we have at our district. I was on the other side the last round, and I know how nerve-wracking it is, and I know what preparation it takes. And especially when you're, going against a group of other very qualified individuals. And so, again, the quality of applicants is just outstanding, and so I really appreciate that. My order will be, I would like to put as my front runner Ms. Quintero, Mr. Urquiaga as number 2, and Mr. Baird as number 3.
Wow, okay. So I have sort of 2 from Mr. Urquiaga as their first choice, 1 from Mr. Baird as the first choice, and 1 from Ms. Quintero as the first choice. And then as the number 2, let me just double check here.
It's helpful, I totally
Yes, and please correct me if I've got it wrong here. Hold on here. So what I have here, and I'll just put the first and the seconds, I have, again, Mr. Urquiaga has support as the top candidate from 2 of us, Mr. Baird from 1 of us, and Ms. Quintero from 1 of us. Mr. Urquiaga has seconds from 2 other board members, and Mr. Baird has a second from 1 other board member, and Ms. Quintero has a second from 1 board member. Is it 2 board members? It's from one board member. So normally, oh, go ahead, Mr. Lopez.
Yeah, so considering that Mr. Urquiaga did receive two votes as the number 1, and the rest received 1, I would, considering respecting the process and respecting our views, and I'd like to motion to appoint Mr. Urquiaga, considering the two votes that was received, and the other 2 were received just 1.
All right, so there's a motion by Mr. Lopez to appoint Mr. Urquiaga to fill the vacancy in trustee area 5. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion for purposes of discussion.
Thank you. Seconded. All right, so now discussion. I think that obviously I've said what I've said in support of Mr. Urquiaga. I really would like to hear from you, Dr. Castanet-Calleros, and you, Ms. Conchola, as to this potential nomination, appointment.
Can I go first?
Yes.
Like I said, I was struggling with my number 1 and my number 2, so I'm good to go. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and I really appreciate the rationale that both of you gave, and I respect that Mr. Urquiaga deservedly got 2 first place votes in this process, and I respect the process, and so I'm good to go.
Okay, so any other comment before I call the question? All right, on the motion to appoint Armando Urquiaga to fill a vacancy of trustee area 5 on the Whittier Union High School District Board of Trustees, let's take a roll call vote, please, Madam Superintendent.
Trustee Castaneda-Calleros.
Aye.
Trustee Lopez.
Aye.
Trustee Canchola.
Aye.
Trustee Rodriguez-Moisa.
Yes. Congratulations, Mr. Urquiaga. Before we conclude here, I think you heard from those of you who participated in this process. I hope that you felt that it was a fair and open and transparent process. We wanted to give everyone the same opportunities, make sure everyone had the same questions and the information, and I hope that you felt that was the process that was followed. For those of you who were not successful, we are so excited for your interest and your participation and your courage in coming forward. We welcome you any day or night, it doesn't matter, to please come back and participate with us and help us make this district a better place. And unless there are any other comments from my fellow board members, I think I would entertain a motion to adjourn, but I do want to give my fellow board members an opportunity to say final words.
Thank you. I'd like to take this chance just to thank our candidates for, again, embarking on this journey and having the courage to apply. And I salute all of you, and I hope that I see all of you out in the community continue to be civically engaged. We're very fortunate to have this much talent in our district. God bless you.
And I would also like to have all the candidates remain if they don't mind. I would personally like to speak with you since I don't think I've met any of you. If you don't mind staying around, but you do not have to stay. Ms. Conchola.
Yes, ditto to everything that has already been said, but I also want to acknowledge staff for all the screening work and preparation work that happens. We have the best staff ever and superintendent, and so, and again, thank you, because I know that all of you applied because in your heart of hearts, in your core, it's not just serving, but serving young people, and so thank you for that.
All right, do I have a motion to, I'm sorry, Mr. Lopez, my apologies, yes.
I wasn't gonna make a comment, but I wanna thank the staff, Dr. Bielder, your staff, classified, all the teachers that have a vested interest in this. I just wanna thank you all for being part of this. Appreciate it. And of course, Mr. Gallagher, thank you, sir. Thank you for your guidance. It's appreciated.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn until our next meeting on February 10, 2026?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Conchola, seconded by Mr. Lopez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries 4-0. We are adjourned.